12:30. Bobby Marks, yes, the same Bobby Marks that was accusing the Jazz of undermining the integrity of the NBA. He's going to join us at 1 o'clock. Eric Weddle is going to join us at 12:30. So we are just wall to wall with great guests today. Our show is brought to you today and every single day by our friends over at Big Willie's, 1717 South Main. Look, you got to be watching Olympics. You got to be watching at least the Olympic primetime, kind of the recap. Big Willie's is a perfect place to do it. Sit down, order an appetizer. Jalapeno poppers are phenomenal, by the way. Maybe grab something like a sandwich. Maybe you're trying to be a little healthier. Even the healthy menu, the spinach salad with chicken on it, is a great choice at Big Willie's. If you're not trying to be healthy, go big. Wings, nachos, burger, tots. Tell them OC sent you. Wash it down with whatever you like. If you do happen to drink alcohol, they have drink specials. An incredible partnership with Outlaw Distillery, so they get spirits that nobody else gets. They've got cold beers on draft. If it's not on draft, they're going to have it in a bottle for you. And what is one of my favorite things about Big Willie's, and something that you will learn to appreciate about Big Willie's when you become a more frequent visitor, maybe even a regular, is that they focus on wallet-friendly specials for food and drink every single day. They don't want it to be a strain on your finances to go out, be social, watch some games, shoot some pool, have a little bit of fun. Big Willie's is the official presenting sponsor of the Sean O'Connell Show, and they've got jam-packed Olympic lineups all day long through these Winter Olympics. Speaking of the Winter Olympics, I never thought I would care so much about ice dancing. Oh, my goodness. Controversy. And you know what I think? I think that the ice dancing world knows exactly what it's doing right now. I think that if you had just gone by the book, if you had gone chalk, and you had let see what I did there, chalk? If you had let the American team, the favorites, win, then you wouldn't have all the conversation about it the next day. And I think they know exactly what they're doing. Controversy all up and down it. We're going to talk about plenty of things in the Olympic world today. Breaking news this morning, and Gordy Chiesa is going to join us here in studio, and I'm very curious to see what his thoughts are on this. So, Trey J, Jaren Jackson Jr., newly acquired by the Utah Jazz. Blockbuster deal right before the trade deadline. You heard Spence Checketts say it. I thought this was going to be the reality. We joked, tongue-in-cheek, semi-serious, but kind of serious, saying, hey, Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to fly to Salt Lake City. He's going to find out, in Spence's case, he said, find out he's got a back problem. Well, that's not what happened. He has a knee problem instead. PVNS. And as all of you know, pigmented villonodular synovitis, a rare and benign non-cancerous tumor that caused the joint lining to thicken and overgrow inside the knee, usually affects adults aged 20 to 50. It can cause painful swelling, stiffness, and locking. You've got effectively a little node in your knee that's swollen, so it'll cause the knee to lock up. Wow, your joint to lock up.
He's dealing with nodes.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
He's got nodes, just like on Pitch Perfect 2. So what do you do to correct this? Well, surgical interventions are largely effective. But what does it mean for the Utah Jazz? It means that this defensive-minded, all-star caliber player that you just acquired to help your team, well, he is going to be out for the rest of the year. Curious.
Does it say out for the season? I mean, we assume it will be. I didn't know. I was curious about that. If we're just assuming or if it's officially out for the year.
Hold on, let me see.
It's safe to assume.
The first one I saw said that he's going to be shut down for the rest of the year.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
The ESPN article does not say out for the rest of the year.
And the press release didn't say anything about that, which that's typical. They're not going to give that designation till probably after the surgery, the team.
Let's see. Utah forward Jaren Jackson Jr. will miss the remainder of the 2025-2026 NBA season. So, look.
It was safe to assume
if this were a playoff team,
that was the case.
Maybe there would be a rehab situation here. I have no idea how invasive the surgery. I had never heard. I usually feel like we've kind of heard of everything under the sun when it comes to athletic injuries, things that might require surgery.
Especially with the knee.
I had never heard of PVNS. And that is why I'm telling you, people, this is a response to the Jazz being front and center, put in the crosshairs, people trying to manufacture controversy and being like, hey, they're ruining things. The Jazz, it's unacceptable what you're doing.
Absolutely a response.
This is exactly the Utah Jazz going, you know what? Turns out he's got a non-season ending injury that we're going to make a season ending injury because you guys are bugging us. Because people won't shut up about the way that we are doing our gentleman's tank and they're allowing everyone else to get a free pass. We're the ones in your crosshairs because you don't like the Jazz sitting this brand new guy down, Lowry Markkanen down. You don't like it? Fine. He's unavailable. Now there's nothing we can do. It's beyond our control. It's PVNS. And I bet you there's like a bunch of people in the NBA that had to look up what PVNS was. And isn't it curious? Isn't it miraculous that in a physical, because you know he had to have the physical and had to pass the physical in order for the trade to be executed. The Utah Jazz are not going to send that amount of player and draft capital to Memphis without knowing that Jaren Jackson Jr. was healthy.
The release did say they knew about this when they traded for him.
They knew about it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, he's going to have surgery on this thing.
Yeah, they didn't. They at that time, they didn't say he needed to have. They didn't feel that he needed to have surgery. Now for whatever reason, now they feel like it's time for him to have surgery. I'm with you on that.
I would be willing to bank on the reality that Jaren Jackson Jr. is the type of guy. What we've seen with him so far in his NBA career, what we've seen with him is a willingness to play the kind of basketball that other players are not willing to play, to focus on defense, to be a little bit more gritty, right? I'm going to go out on a limb, not knowing the guy personally, not having had an opportunity to interview him even. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he would play through this for the remainder of the season probably. Because it is one of those things, I was looking it up last night, it is one of those things that it's pain management, it's annoying, it's actually not likely that you're going to make it much worse by exerting yourself on it. You're not likely to cause any serious problems if you play on it. A lot of folks that have PVNS, it goes undiagnosed and untreated because they're not professional athletes, and they're just like, I got a little crick in my knee. This knee catches sometimes. Whatever. I'm going to go about my life.
And even if they did get it looked at, they'd find, it's a tumor, but it's benign. Whatever.
Over the course of a career, it can contribute to the development of arthritis. So I'm glad he's getting it fixed now.
Yeah.
You don't want guys, especially guys that size, to be. It is one of the sad realities of seeing aging NBA basketball players where they can't move. They have a hard time walking around. You see like 60-year-old guys with canes. So I'm glad he's getting it taken care of. But this absolutely is, the timing of this absolutely is a response by Trey J himself, but certainly by the Utah Jazz, and saying, all right, fine. You don't like the way we're doing our gentleman's tank? Then we will do it the old-fashioned way. And we will make this guy unavailable for the rest of the year. The surgery is going to happen now instead of after the All-Star break or whenever we decided that we had assessed and sussed out the kind of chemistry that he has with his teammates. We're going to shut it down now. I would be willing to. What's the poly market? Kalshi.
Yeah.
If there's a way I can make bets on whether or not he would have played the rest of the season had it not been for this tanking conversation.
There probably was a futures market.
There's probably how many more games is
prediction market, I should say.
Jaren Jackson Jr. going to play? Will Jaren Jackson Jr. play the rest of the season? I mean, come on, man. And look, I'm glad he's going to get it taken care of. And the positive side of this ledger for the Utah Jazz and for the Utah Jazz fans is this is not a career-threatening or even a meaningful season-threatening type injury and surgery. Barring complications, he's going to be fine. He'll recover from this to the fullness of his physical capacities. And now you've got a guy who is rested, probably champing at the bit a little bit to get back into some basketball. And when you hit the ground as a team next fall for a season that we've watched this acceleration of expectations, now you've got a Jaren Jackson Jr. that is like fully done, rehabbed, ready to go from a knee problem that thankfully wasn't that severe of a knee problem in the first place. And because he's going to be out of the lineup for the rest of the year, it's going to take the Jazz out of this weird week-long conversation they've been in, where they've been in the crosshairs of the NBA and the NBA media saying you're the ones who are doing something wrong. Now the Jazz are just like, okay, can't control this. He's out. He's out, and there's nothing we can do about it. And we're getting him taken care of. He's still on your roster. He's still under contract. He's still part of the core. He's just not going to be available to Will Hardy and this team. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that I think it's always good when teammates can spend time together, when they can play together, when they can be on the floor together. And this was going to be a practice run all year long. The remainder of this season, for however much they were going to let Lowry and Trey J and Keontae and whoever play together, all of that is just practice. It's just reps. It's just building chemistry. It's getting to know one another. It's figuring out each other's timing and spacing and things like that. It's unfortunate that now you don't get that because it is a head start on a season that next year we hope, is going to be a meaningful season, a competitive season, to try to get to the playoff season. And any reps that you could see with these guys playing alongside one another are valuable in that effort. Now those things get taken away from you. That's the downside here. But the fact that the Utah Jazz are throwing up the double-barrel middle fingers at the NBA with this and just be like, oh, surgery happens now then. You guys want to talk about us? Like we're the problem? Fine. Trey J's gone.
Fine, he's out for the year. Small correction. I said in the press release says they knew about this at the time of the trade. It said they did do a physical, but I was remembering it wrong from this morning. The growth was a post-trade was identified in a post-trade physical. Just small correction there. So
a post-trade physical.
So they knew about it after the trade.
Okay.
Not a big deal. Just wanted to put that correction.
It's probably not something that would affect the trade value if they knew about it. It probably isn't something that would have changed the package that the Jazz are willing to give up. Because, again, their timeline.
You know what? We're going to take 2 of those first-round picks back.
They were not adding Jaren Jackson Jr. to the roster to say, hey, we're going to compete right this second. We're going to do this now. And, there's plenty of teams that were looking for that, right?
You know what? Now that we're getting we're reading between the lines on this, OC, and going, this is a convenient time for them to say one of their stars is out for the season, and shrewd move by them. I wonder if after all of this noise around them, Bobby Marks in that mix, who we're going to talk to at 1:00 about this, if they said, you know what, Lowry, Jaren, Nurk, Keontae, we're all doing MRIs, and they were looking to find some reason to say one or more of those guys is out for the year so that we can get this terrible spotlight off of us.
You know what? We're gonna see Lowry Market expect to miss the rest of the Utah Jazz season to have his wisdom teeth removed. Just if you got anything you want to clean up, maybe you're looking for a little cosmetic procedure. Maybe Keontae George is just maybe Nurk wants a nose job. Just like he's gonna.
The recovery is exactly 4 months.
Bad news, everyone. Yusuf Nurkic is going to be out for the rest of the season. He's going to Turkey to get hair implants. I mean,
I don't think that teams do that, but it makes you go, why did he have this MRI? Was this an MRI to find something to say, you know what, that might need surgery?
Look, it's a real syndrome. It's a real thing.
It definitely is. But
it's BVNS. I, again, hadn't heard of it before yesterday, or I guess hadn't heard of it before this morning.
Yeah.
And researched this morning exactly what this is. And it's like, okay, so it's like, it's a little tumor that, by the way, even after you get it taken out, more likely that because you have this genetic predisposition and a history of it, it could just pop back up, and you might have to get it cleaned up again a couple times.
What do they call? What do football players call those? Those cleanup knee surgeries.
Yeah,
they call oil. Some of them call them. It's my oil change. Is this? He's gonna have to
just go get
some
your
of
knee
those for
scoped.
this stuff. Yeah.
Which, by the way, in those, like, you see it with elbows, you see it with knees. When they just go and they like a tiny little incision, a little robot arm with snippers on the end of it. And a surgeon is just playing operation, literally and figuratively, with like tiny pieces of your meniscus, or hey, there's a bone spur that is causing some irritation in here, and they just
scar tissue.
Let's just get this out of here. It's crazy.
Yeah. So Trey J may have to have something like that throughout the rest of his life to keep cleaning these things up. I don't know.
I haven't seen anything on the doctor who's going to perform the surgery. I don't want it to be Elytrage.
Could be Dr. James Andrews. Throwback.
Fine. Just don't give me Elytrage. Otherwise, we're going to have Will Hardy be like, yeah, he should be back for game 1 next year.
If it is Dr. Elytrage, we are getting him on the show this time.
And then at Christmas time, everyone's going to be like, hey, when's Trey J coming back? Well, it's we didn't really disclose how severe this was. I'm starting to think Elytrage just finds stuff that's wrong. He's like one of those weird doctors who goes and leaves like medical implements in people's body cavities.
Oh, no. He was also, did you realize he was also Aaron Rodgers' surgeon when he tore his Achilles?
Yeah, that's right.
And Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles around the same time. Who knows? Maybe he was Kirk Cousins' doctor too. He's the new Dr. James Andrews.
So applause to the Utah Jazz for being cautious about player health and making sure you put the safety of these young men first and foremost.
Absolutely.
We know that you were trying earnestly to win all the remaining games of the season, and you're making this sacrifice for the good of Jaren Jackson Jr.'s future. Well done. Oh, by the way, NBA and everyone, Nick Wright and everyone who's just like, Jazz are the problem. This is what's going on here. What are you going to say about this? Yeah. You got to make a play. This is not a severe enough injury. No. All right.
And meanwhile, crickets about Trae Young and Anthony Davis in particular. Like I know we keep going back to that, but it's like that's the most obvious. You're choosing to overlook a team who's deliberately not playing their guys who probably could play to criticize a team who is playing their guys. They're just choosing not to play them in the fourth quarter. Like, come on. It's ridiculous. Now it's like, okay, you prefer if we just don't play them, even if there's a chance they could play, fine. That's what we'll do too. Brian Windhorst, by the way, yesterday was pretty measured with what he said throughout the day. I was finding some other stuff that we didn't get to on the show yesterday about this, but he kept using the word egregious when he was talking about the way the Jazz are doing this, and I'm like, that's just the wrong way to describe this.
All right, I have another question, unrelated. Junk mail came in this morning. Official Utah football email from Keeler McJunkin. And a lot of you probably already know this because you would have gotten the same emails or emails from your ticket representative or whatever. But the season ticket renewal period opens today. 7-game home schedule, so one more than usual. Arkansas, BYU, but a little bit lackluster outside of that. So Idaho, Arkansas, Utah State, Kansas, Houston, BYU, West Virginia. That's as lackluster a home slate as you can find. Now, I think that you can pencil in 6 out of 7 as wins, which is a good thing. You don't buy tickets, season tickets especially, to watch your favorite team being like, I hope we're 50-50 this year at Rice-Eccles Stadium, right? You want to watch your team win, especially at home. It's a pain to go up there. It's a pain to park. It's a pain to get out of the stadium. It's a pain to wait in line for the bathroom, whatever. So the trade-off for you making that sacrifice is you want to see these wins. And I think that, with the exception of November 7th against BYU, which is going to be a coin flip type game, and actually, let's be honest, BYU will probably be favored in that game because of the roster that they're bringing back, depending on what happens between now and November 7th.
One significant development in their roster came through last night.
Are you renewing your season tickets for the 2026 campaign? And yes, major breaking news. I'm actually very glad that the Jaren Jackson Jr. thing happened as well, because
They get overshadowed.
That's the pro sports franchise. That's a big deal. That's a bigger deal, especially on this station, than BYU. And James, I'll be honest, I didn't know the correct way to approach this respectfully, not respectful of the accused, to be respectful of the accuser, to be respectful of the significance, the absolute life-changing weight, the devastation of the allegations and the arrest based on those allegations of Parker Kingston, the BYU's leading receiver from last year, very talented punt returner. And now I can't help but do it. I know everyone's innocent until proven guilty. But now you see all the videos. Now you see the highlights. Now, and there's just a sinister tone over top all of it, because this stems from an investigation and an accusation from last February 23rd, almost a year ago. And every appearance that you saw of Parker Kingston, you actually paid attention to since then, came after this incident. An incident that was compelling enough after evidence gathered, forensic evidence, digital evidence, which was a big part of a lot of the stories on this. First-degree felony rape.
And I wasn't able to find exact clarification on this, but first degree in terms of when you're talking about a murder case, which is what we're most familiar of hearing that term with, means premeditated. I'm assuming that that's also what first degree means in this case too, right?
It is generally defined as the most severe form of SA.
Yeah.
Often involving the use of force, serious injury, or a vulnerable victim. It puts a pit in my stomach talking about this with anyone. Talking about it with an athlete who is a forward-facing figure, who's very public, and obviously now this is back-to-back years where Brigham Young University, which is supposed to be a football program and an institution that maintains a higher level of moral expectation for everyone there, including their athletes, this is now the second year in a row that a high-profile case has emerged. We're talking about the best players on this team, the most meaningful players on this team, back-to-back years having these problems. And I should say back-to-back years that we find out about the ramifications. I think that there was actually more than a year that separated the Parker Kingston incident and the Jake Retzlaff incident in real time of when those incidents actually occurred. But he's in jail right now. There's a bail hearing on Friday at 1:30 p.m.
Yeah, right now
He's being held without bail.
Been held without bail because of because of that first degree nature of the charge. So it's it makes me think of, and I told you this off air, it makes me think of the recent unfortunate stuff that happened in Logan, right? With Utah State's football program. You had multiple sexual assault allegations over a short period of time with that football program. And now we're seeing it in Provo with BYU, and Utah State were subject to a lot of scrutiny because of that. Blake Anderson ultimately lost his job, eventually related to that, right? And I can't help but wonder, it's a different kind of scrutiny because it's not a state school, it's not a public university like Utah State, but I can't help but wonder if BYU's football program shouldn't be put under similar scrutiny at this point after back-to-back years. These one a civil case and now this one a criminal case of similar nature. That's something I'm thinking about too, OC.
And that's something that the institution, the coaching staff, look, it really is a hard thing for me to talk about because I know Kalani Sitake. All right. I firmly, deeply believe that Kalani Sitake is the kind of guy that you can trust to send your kids to. You could put your kids in childcare at Kalani Sitake's house. He's a family man. He's got a bunch of kids of his own. He's got young kids of his own. He's what little I know of his wife, she seems to be an incredible person. This has to be such a painful and difficult thing. And again, like we did with the Retzlaff case, all right, you have to start questioning the timeline on when did BYU know. BYU put out a statement after the arrest, after Parker Kingston was taken into custody and taken to jail. BYU, we've been made aware, we know. And then you find out on social media that people were talking about this as kind of an open secret during the season last year. That folks had heard this story in Provo and beyond and in St. George. That people were just like, yeah, man, that might have happened. Or, yeah, that did happen. Or, I know a girl this happened to. Or, I know this accusation is out there.
How's this guy allowed to play? That kind of stuff.
The responsibility of any program led by Kalani Sitake or Morgan Scalley or Kyle Whittingham or whatever, if this is out there and you're not at least having conversations with your player about what the bleep is going on, especially at a place like BYU, where you're supposed to be, where you profess to be squeakier, cleaner,
higher standard,
better, higher standard, right? It should be at the standard of every football team everywhere, Little League and beyond. Hey, it's zero tolerance here? Violence against anyone who is weaker than you. Violence against anyone, and especially young women who might be put in a place of vulnerability and trust where you are involved. I will not tolerate anything that colors outside the lines. Anything. Nothing. Zero tolerance. That's even if you didn't have the Jake Retzlaff case. That's even if you're not BYU. That's if you're Tennessee Tech. That's if you're Utah State. It should be a zero tolerance. I'm taking every allegation seriously. And look, I have said publicly, and I will continue to say, a false allegation should be punished the same way that a crime itself is punished, because you can ruin a young man's life if you lie on him about things like this. But if you're guilty of something like this, if you're even accused of something like this, and your coaching staff knows about it, and you're playing on Saturdays at BYU of all places, it's disgusting. And we will get the fullness of the truth as time progresses. We'll find out the timeline on when BYU knew about this, who at BYU knew about this. Was the Honor Code office involved or was it not involved? Did the coaching staff know or did it not know? We'll find out all of those things. How many teammates knew about this? And guess what? It's going to be an awful story to tell every time. And it's an awful story no matter what the outcome is. My sincere hope is that Parker Kingston is exonerated of this crime and it never happened. And not because I want BYU football to be better off or because I want them to have their number one receiver from last year. I want this not to be true. I want us to be able to watch college football and to cheer for guys and to say, wow, look at that successful season that BYU had. Look what they were able to accomplish unexpectedly with this freshman quarterback. I want us to be able to watch those things and take them at face value and not have to question, well, whether or not, hey, is there somebody on this team that shouldn't be playing right now? Is there somebody on this team who's got this horrible, terrible skeleton in the closet? I want most of all for that girl, that accuser, to never have had something happen to her. That's what I want more than anything. So I hope this is a non-story. I hope it goes away. I hope that it was all false and it's just completely made up. And I hope it doesn't mean anything. But this is awful again at BYU. Twice in 2 years now. High-profile players. And guess what? Spoiler alert, Parker Kingston ain't going to be on the roster next year, BYU fans.
Simply this case being a criminal case is not going to be resolved in enough time. But also, yeah, even beyond that, there's no way he's going to be allowed to be on the roster.
Ugh. Thank you, Jaron Jackson Jr. in your surgery for not making me talk about that for 25 minutes because 10 was way too long for me. We have Gordy Chiesa here in studio with us today, our resident NBA guru. I'm sure he has some thoughts on the timing of Trey J's surgery.
Ice dancing expert, too.
He is also
There's been some significant developments in ice dancing.
Our Olympic ice dancing expert. And look, we've handed out medals. There's controversy in ice dancing. All this going on. It's the Sean O'Connell Show. Just getting rolling. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792.1 FM. Gordy Chiesa, resident NBA guru, is here, talking all things NBA and all things basketball in general. Gordy, welcome. How are you?
Sean, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Gordy, the Utah Jazz are going to be without Jaren Jackson Jr. for the remainder of the season. He has a knee syndrome that I was not aware of until I read this story, PVNS, a benign tumor that grows in the joint, thickens the lining of your knees, and you got to go in and you got to snip it out. Now, the timing of this is interesting because it's coming on the heels of the Utah Jazz being, the target of a lot of ire around the NBA because of how they were tanking by pulling guys in the fourth quarter, late in the third, early fourth, whatever. And also because you have to assume that physicals happen when a trade happens. And the trade physical, as far as we could tell, he was fine, and then a post-trade examination of the knee, because obviously he was already playing for the Utah Jazz. Now, look, we have this little lump in your knee. What do you make of this?
Well, the first thing is that when he got traded last Thursday, to make the trade official is that each player has to complete a physical by their new team. Otherwise, the trade is delayed or it's voided. So, for example, Sean, remember last year when Mark Williams was being traded to the Lakers and he failed the Lakers doctor's physical? So that's when the Lakers were going to acquire Mark Williams from the Hornets, and the Hornets are going to try Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, and 2030 first-round pick and a 231 another first-round pick. The trade was voided. So now with the Jazz point of view is that the question right now I have, where I wish there'd be more clarification of it. I'm reading that they discovered the growth during the physical after being traded. So after being traded, they discovered it. And so the question was, did they know that before the trade, or that did the Jazz say to the Grizzlies that whether he has a growth or not, it doesn't matter to us, that we want to trade for him, and they okayed it? It's a clarification. We don't know that. That's the question. The timing of the MRI.
For the Utah Jazz, I mean, the timing is what makes this so interesting to me, because for the Utah Jazz, this is something that teams do, right? If a guy has something that otherwise he could play through, otherwise would not be a major situation, but you're trying to tank, you say, you know what, that ankle injury that really is nothing and we could just tape up and have you play, suddenly it's severe. Oh, those back spasms that you had one time when you were 20 years old, they're back. They have returned, and now we need to keep you out of the lineup. Is there any of this going on with the Utah Jazz, especially after they found themselves in the crosshairs of everyone around the NBA saying, questioning their integrity as an organization, questioning whether or not they were undermining the integrity of the game? All of that unjustified, by the way, but it was happening, and this could be, in my opinion, a response by the Jazz to say, okay, fine, you don't like how we're doing it? We'll do it the old-fashioned way. We'll pretend this guy has something really severe.
Well, he really actually has it, I'm sure. That, exactly. He's going to be out surgery. Any type of surgery, it's troubling because it affects an athlete's body. So with Jaren Jackson, the surgery will be done by the Jazz doctors next week during All-Star break. And that Jaren Jackson is age 26. Again, it was his left knee. They're removing, as Sean mentioned, a growth on it. He's out for the remaining of the season. Quickly, the Jazz, for Jaren Jackson with the Jazz, he played 3 games where he was outstanding, and he averaged 22 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, and 2.7 assists. And he played very well. And you get the feeling that if Jaren Jackson would play most of the Jazz games with Larry Markin and Yusuf Nurkic, and with once Keontae George off ankle injury, which is legit, is a sprained ankle. At the Jazz have 27 games left. The Jazz could win minimum half those games, and that would jeopardize the Jazz probably finishing 8 or below to make sure they get their pick in this year's draft. I mean, the 2026 draft. If they finish 9 or above, that pick goes to of all people, the OKC Thunder. So that's the part of the reason why that there's questions about it. But no one's questioning that Jaren Jackson has a growth on his knee. The issue right now is just the timing of it. No one knows the answer until the Jazz give more narrative about it.
What does it do to the lineup? I mean, I guess I know the answer to that question because it makes it look a lot like it did before the trade happened. But, I mean, how many wins does this take off the slate, do you think, that you're shutting down Jaren Jackson Jr.?
Well, the first thing as far as wins is that the Jazz, ironically, showing last night's win against the Kings, they surpassed last season's win total. Last year, the Jazz finished 17-65. Right now, the Jazz ran out 18-37. They have 27 games left. And again, some of those games are absolutely winnable, no matter who you have, because there are some of those games you're going to play against other teams that definitely want to be in the lottery. Absolutely. So the Jazz, if they had all their guys there playing in earnest with 27 games left, they could have a winning record, meaning 14-13, if not more. And so if you have 14 wins and 13 and 8 with 18 already equals 32. So then they're jeopardizing possibly, again, we don't know the other teams what they're doing as far as if they, again, this awful word called tanking. Sean, tanking means that you purposely aren't playing all the players that are eligible in a game because you want to look at your younger guys. So it's such a gray area. It's like a gray area. And that's what a lot of teams do. And the NBA is trying, as a matter of fact, they had the NBA Board of Governors had either a meeting or was on a conference call about how can they improve this. I'm sure All-Star Weekend is really almost like Sean. This weekend, all the owners will be there. I'm sure they're going to discuss this. How can they make this not a issue as far as with teams purposely not playing their guys or teams losing to try to get a better chance of getting it? Let's not forget, last year the Jazz won 17 games. They had a 14% chance of getting the first pick, and they got the fifth pick. 14%, Sean. You imagine, Sean, with surgery, your doctor says to you, you have 14% chance of being successful. Guess what, Doc? Don't operate on me.
Yeah, that was one thing that I think a lot of us, myself included, we kind of failed to acknowledge over the course of that tank last year, that like there was just this almost assumption that it was going to work out the way that you wanted it to, even though the numbers are available to you. You can look at it and you could say, 14%. And it's because it's all relative, right? You have a higher percentage than everyone else, but you don't, just because you have the highest percentage of winning, a chance to win, doesn't mean that you're actually going to win, right? Especially when we're talking about 14%. If it were 80% chance you're going to get the number one pick, my outrage would probably be a lot more justified in the fact that you didn't get it. But 14%, to the point that you just made, you don't gamble anything on a 14% chance.
And Sean, that 14% also isn't one team, it's the bottom three teams. So the teams with the three worst records has a 14% chance of getting the number one pick in the draft. So this year's draft, we know about it because it's such an emotional thing because of AJ DeBancer of BYU, who's a tremendous talent. He's going to be picked either, Sean, 1 or 2.
Okay.
You can debate that. And Cameron Boozer, former Jazz son of Carlos Boozer, could be probably picked number 3. And also, this draft is also so interesting because of Darren Peterson's, I don't want to say controversy, but why isn't he playing?
I'm out on that. If I'm a franchise,
why isn't he playing? Is it his injured ankle? Does he have the flu? Is it a combination of everything? Is his agent holding him out? Is his family saying to Bill Self, the great coach of Kansas? And by the way, Kansas right now, Jayhawks, in case you're wondering, have won 8 straight.
Yeah, looking really good.
So let's say that the Kansas Jayhawks,
including against the number 1 team, undefeated Arizona. Yes.
You're talking like big time competition, and they won 8 in a row. So Darren Peterson's teammates aren't saying it, But whether you play or not, guess what, fella? We're going to win anyway. That's what they're saying. And
Yeah.
that's what you should do. If you're a player, that's what you should do.
I mean, it's a testament to what Kansas is doing. And look, he's a great player. He's an incredibly talented player. I have been this way for the longest time because it goes back to being a lowly walk-on in college where you see guys that are on scholarship that aren't earning their keep because they won't play hurt, they won't practice hurt, they refuse to kind of push through the problems, right? And I'm looking at this when we're talking about NBA basketball. We're talking about Kansas. I mean, if you're a starter at Kansas, that's millions of dollars, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And you're looking at it, and you're talking about a number 1 overall pick in the upcoming NBA draft potentially. And it's like, yeah, you might be available 50% of the time. We've watched that, how it works in the NBA. That's Anthony Davis, right? Even if it's 100% legitimate and it's not a toughness question, it's not a mental toughness question, but you're just made of glass and you get hurt all the time, I don't want that on my team, regardless of how talented the guy is. Because if you have a Lamborghini, Gordy, like you do, that's what Gordy drives, all of you people. If you got a Lamborghini and it's only working half the time, you got half of a car. No, thank you.
And now, right now, Sean's, of course, for the listeners right now, driving right now in a traffic jam on 215. I don't have a Lamborghini. I have very happily a Chrysler Jeep that I've had I've had a Jeep, Sean, Chrysler Jeep for the last 30 years.
I like that.
So, yeah, 30 years, different models.
Brand loyalty.
Yeah, brand loyalty. And obviously, my former employer at Utah Jazz, Larry Miller, I go through Larry Miller, in case you're wondering. But I do like Lamborghinis, especially red ones that are really hot.
All right, let's take a break. We got plenty of things to talk about with this Utah Jazz team and the NBA beyond. Other trades happen. Other trades, we're seeing the results of those trades or the lack thereof because of things like this, like players being shut down. We discussed this on the show yesterday. Trae Young has played how many games for the Wizards? None. Anyway, lots to get to with Gordy Chiesa. It's the Sean O'Connell Show. Hot lunch coming on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Gordy, we talked about the headline for the Utah Jazz. Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700. Gordy Chiez, our conversation with him is brought to you by our friends over at Aladdin Industries, Utah's Velux dealer, and America First Credit Union. Do guys still want to play in the All-Star game, Gordy?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. The answer is yes, they do, especially now with the new format. And the reason why, Sean, global branding. It's a big thing, playing in the All-Star game. And that now with the NBA is trying to figure out, when we say game, it's more of an exhibition. All right? So that's what it is. So the NBA, I'll call it the NBA, it's All-Star weekend, but it's the NBA exhibition. And that this year, for the first time, there's 3 teams, and that it's like almost like a round-robin tournament where there'll be 4 12-minute games with the top 2 teams by record will advance to face each other in the championship game. If all 3 teams have a 1-1 record after game 3, the tiebreaker would be point differential in each team's 2 rounds. So that's what's going to be right now. So here is going to be the world team. All right? And so now with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's legitimately hurt. They added Şengün of the Houston Rockets. And so he's playing right now as far as him being the guy, Alperen Şengün. So here's the world team. Jamal Murray of Canada, Nikola Jokic of Serbia, Luka Doncic, who's hurt right now. They say he's going to play, Slovenia, Victor Wembanyama of France, Pascal Siakam of Cameroon, Deni Avdija of Israel, who's playing tonight for the Portland Trailblazers. He's a tremendous player. Karl-Anthony Towns of Dominican Republic, and now with the addition right now of Alperen Şengün of Turkey. So that's the world team. So that's going to be so interesting where the American players now, they're going to have a round with 3 teams of 8. So two teams of American players and 1 world team will play each other. And it should be exciting. And it's going to be different. We'll see how it plays out. I'm sure the NBA is looking at it as far as a TV partnership, how it's going to play out. And I'm all for it, though.
By the way, the Hot Lunch brought to you by our friends at Big Willie's, 1717 South Main. I'm holding it up for the YouTube audience out here. A barbecue pork sandwich on a ciabatta bun with slaw. Coleslaw is one of the best, condiment / accessories to any sandwich. Adds a nice little crisp, some creaminess with the slaw. Delightful. Also, the fries on the side. They run a lunch special at Big Willie's every single day, just the same way that they run drink specials every day. And I'm not holding this up to make Gordy Chieza jealous. He's all the man eats is broccoli and grilled chicken. That's why he's shredded. But this looks really good. It's making my mouth water in the hot lunch. The reason I asked the question about whether or not guys want to play in the All-Star game is because, we've gotten to a point now where in the NFL, the Pro Bowl just needs to go away. Nobody cares about it anymore. It's not a thing that people want to participate in. And, there's guys like LeBron has kind of said, well, I don't need to play in another All-Star game. Some of these veterans who it's nothing new for them might not be as enthusiastic about the game, but you see headlines outside of the trade headlines that are happening right now. And, Luka Doncic is out for now, but he wants to be in the All-Star game. Cooper Flagg out against the Lakers, and now he's not going to be part of the Rising Stars Challenge. So, I wonder, availability, not being available, how guys really feel about it when it comes to All-Star Weekend.
No, they're all for it. And speaking of Cooper Flagg, he's out with actually a sprained foot the last game. So now it's good for the Jazz because Ace Bailey now replaces him. So Ace Bailey will play in a Rising Star game, which is really the rookies and the sophomores as far as in the NBA. And that's tomorrow night, and they'll be on Peacock. And so Ace Bailey, who you can make a discussion, probably got snubbed. And that Ace Bailey is a tremendous talent. He's one of the foundational pieces as the Jazz go forward. And everybody loves his game because he's averaging over 12 points a game, but he's getting out of team rhythm. And you have the feeling that each passing year, he'll be able to be even more explosive. And he's a shot maker. And that he tries to execute the offense, but still showcase his individual skills, which is really high. And let's not forget, he turns 20 in August. So he's such a young guy. So visualize him, hopefully in Jazz basketball relatively soon in a playoff game, him being at age 21, 22, and him really trying to take the ball to the basket and for pull-up jump shots or hitting rainbow threes. He's definitely part of the Jazz future, and he's going to play tomorrow night against the younger guys in the NBA. Quickly about this. Often when you judge players, quote, on your favorite team. So here right now, we live in Salt Lake City, so it's Utah Jazz. But just say that you had other teams, you're from a different area, and you moved to Salt Lake City. Judge your favorite team's players against other teams' players in the same age group. That's how you judge it. So don't judge Ace Bailey-type players that he's not better than, we'll say, Nikola Jokic, because it's irrelevant. It's not even on the same orbit. Judge him against other guys within the 1 year to 3 years as far as their age group. And Ace Bailey is going to be highly competitive in that age the 19 to 23-year-old reference point. He's right there too as far as talent.
All right, Gordy Chiesa is hanging out with us for another half hour or so. He has some underrated trades that took place before the trade deadline we're going to get to. We'll have Gordy's list of the day. There's plenty left. I want to pick his brain a little bit about college hoops right now. BYU snapped a bit of a losing skid. The University of Utah men's basketball team is really, really struggling right now. If we have time, we'll get to all of it with Gordy. Don't go anywhere. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome to Hour 2 of the Sean O'Connell Show. We have Gordy Chiesa now. We have Eric Weddle coming up in about 25 minutes. A jam-packed show that will also include Bobby Marks at 1 o'clock and Bill Riley at 1:30.
And speaking of Bobby Marks, we worked together with New Jersey Nets. So I remember young Bobby Marks back in 2005-06.
Wow.
We worked together. And he was, we all knew in the office that he was a rising star, and obviously he was. And Bobby Marks is worked for the Nets and other different teams, and for the NBA, and also for other outlets where he's just sensational. Him and Wojo broke so many stories over the years. So I'm looking forward to hearing him, and please give him my best.
All right, that's Gordy Chiesa. He's hanging out with us for the rest of this segment to open hour number 2. Gordy, the underrated trades that happened before the deadline. Obviously, we spent a lot of time talking about what the Jaren Jackson Jr. acquisition would mean for the Utah Jazz, and now he's shut down for the rest of the year for a knee surgery, but was not the only trade, not anything close to being the only trade that happened before the deadline.
Yeah, but I always want a few guys just to think about. The Cleveland Cavaliers, last year they won 60 games, had a flame out in the second round, and as we speak right now, they won 5 games. And so they added the week of the trading deadline, which is last week, but it just magnifies right now because now we can pause because of the All-Star weekend. They added Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, who's a tremendous defensive player and ball mover, and then they added lightning rod, Hall of Famer, first ballot, James Harden. So now the question is, Sean, philosophically, can James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, can they really exist on the floor? Because both guys are ultra talented and they're both used to being ball dominant. Now, can it work? And so it's so interesting because the Cavs, they were struggling, some injuries, but they were struggling. And then Darius Garland, who's a two-time All-Star, goes to the Clippers, who've also, so they moved on. So the Clippers get a guy that's an All-Star, replacing James Harden, but they gained 10 years on as far as playing as far as age group. And then the question for the Cavaliers, James Harden, unfortunately, his career arc has struggled in most playoff series. Can he reinvent himself with the Cavaliers and get a new bounce right now and lead the Cavaliers to go against the Detroit Pistons or the Celtics or the Knicks to get past minimum into the conference finals? That's the issue right now. And we're going to find out because so much is chemistry. From the Clippers' point of view, they added a guy that's an all-star. Speaking of L.A., add to that, the Lakers, Luka Doncic. Do you realize that for the listeners right now, I know there's a lot of Laker fans from SoCal living in Salt Lake City area. Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and LeBron James, they're big three in this year right now. They've only played 10 games together this season, just total of 10 games. And the Lakers right now are 32-21. They're the 6th seed. And if playoffs started right now today, the Lakers would play the Nuggets of all people in the first round. So, Sean, which means that all these once-in-a-generational players, someone's going to be knocked out in the first round. That's the beauty of the playoffs. Hey, we could be champions, and you might be. Oh, by the way, you knocked out in the first round.
Wow.
It just shows you how it's so fractional. So, and remember, the other guys are good. So I say this a lot of times to Sean, I'm on the street, I see fans, they say to me, yo, what's up, Gordy? What's up with the Jazz? And I always say to them very simply, to my newborn friend, Sean, at 6:30 in the morning at Starbucks, where I said, listen, remember, it's who you play against. So your favorite team, the Jazz, they're getting better. Jaren Jackson, etc. All these guys, Larry Markkinen, these guys are good players. But it's who you play against also. You have to put in the equation that the competition won't allow you to be good sometimes. They're going to challenge you. And that's the beauty of sports.
All right, the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame has announced the 2026 finalists. I'm going to read you these names. You just give me a yes or a no whether or not they get in this year or they get in whenever. All right? North American Committee finalists in alphabetical order. Joey Crawford, the referee.
Yes.
Mark Few, Coach Mark Few.
Yes.
Blake Griffin, the player.
No.
Kevin Johnson.
No.
Gary McKnight, the coach.
He's a high school coach for a long time. Yes.
Okay, Dick Motta.
No.
Doc Rivers.
No.
Kelvin Sampson.
Yes.
Amari Stoudemire.
No.
Jerry Welsh.
He's a coach for Potsdam State for he won 1,000 games. It's crazy. And in case you're wondering, Potsdam State's in upstate New York where the average temperature is about 4 degrees below zero. In case you're wondering, Potsdam, I one time, Sean, I had to get, do not drive in a New York State thruway upstate New York in the middle of January, February, and March. Do not. I did it many times when I was a crazy recruiter in my Big East days, and I can assure you, do not. So Jerry Welsh, coach of Potsdam State, I would say yes.
Okay, Buck Williams.
No, but I love him. No.
All right, the women's committee, the 1996 United States national team, which is the women's dream team, effectively.
Right.
So they're getting in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Rightfully so, yes.
Jennifer Azzi.
Yes, she got game.
Elena Deladonna.
Got game.
Shamika Holdsclaw.
Got game.
Candace Parker.
I know her well. She's got game. Her brother's the general manager of the Orlando Magic.
I don't know this person. I'm sure you do. Duvan Ivkovic.
Yeah. Coach, yeah.
International coach.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Tal Brody as a contributor.
Yeah, Tal Brody was just a guy who was one of the first grade ever player. He played at Illinois. He played in Israel. He's legendary. He was like a Olympic scorer in Israel. He's an American, though, and he's a Jewish heritage. And he's the first ever great Israeli player. He should get in, yes.
Mike D'Antoni.
No.
The Veterans Committee finalist is Marcus Johnson.
No.
All right. Gordy's got a high bar for the Naismith Hall of Fame.
No, I do. Again, Blake Griffin, in other words, he had some great number statistics, high flying. We all love those commercials that he jumped over the car. I get it. I understand it. It's wonderful. But again, the first ballot, we're talking again, the first ballot, I would say no. Because remember, there's so many other guys that are also, you can make the same discussion, the same stats, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You could.
All right,
remember,
Gordy.
now, this is Hall of Fame. It's not American Hall of Fame. It's global. It's a lot of NBA players. There's also involved college coaches and also European coaches, players, et cetera. It's all part of it. I think it's great.
How many times have you visited Springfield, Massachusetts for the Naismith Hall of Fame?
30.
Wow.
30 times. Yeah, I used to live back east.
Yeah.
And I coached at Providence and Dartmouth. We passed it all the time, so I'd stop by and see these statues and think about it. And years later, I worked with two people in the Hall of Fame besides coaching guys. Rick Pitino was at Providence and Jerry Sloan at Utah Jazz. And then we had I coached Pau Gasol. He's in the Hall of Fame from the Grizzlies. Obviously, John and Carl, to say the least. And Ray Allen. I coached Ray Allen at Seattle. So I had a lot of people that I worked with over the years as far as coaching and playing that are Hall of Fame. So I have an idea. But again, Sean, the question is the committee. Sometimes the committee is they're too young or too old about players. So I'm at that age group where I remember all these guys when they played, both men and women, or coached. But you're in a Hall of Fame. Forget about Hall of Fame. You're in a Hall of Fame. So is James Peterson. So the Radio Hall of Fame.
That's right. We're in the
forget about that.
The ESPN 700 Radio Hall of Fame between 2024 and 2026. First ballot in that particular micro class. That's right. Portland at Utah.
Yes.
Blazers at Jazz. What do we expect from this game? Given the roster change with an injury, a surgery, whatever, tickets available for as low as $7, by the way, if you're looking for a little family night. What do you expect from the Trailblazers? 8.5-point favorites for Portland.
Well, Portland right now, in their point of view, they want to win. So they haven't gone to the playoffs since 2021. So it's 4 seasons, and it could be 5. So they're fighting, clawing, and right now they are the 10th seed in the West. They're trying to stay in the play-in tournament, which right now would be Suns, Warriors, Clippers, and Trailblazers. All right, so they're led by, I mentioned before a second ago, by Deni Avdija, is this Israeli guy that the Washington Wizards, for some bizarre reason, traded the Wizards. They traded this guy All-Star to go to the Portland Trailblazers, and it's paid off for the team up north. Where Denny Avdia is tremendous player. He's averaging 25.2 points per game, 6.6 assists, 7.2 rebounds. So Sean and James, this guy's got an all-around game, and he plays to win it, and he's in his prime of his career. And the problem with the Blazers is that they lead the NBA in most turnovers. Yikes, at 16.5. But the Jazz are second most turnovers at 15.3. So tonight's game at the Delta Center, the two teams that don't value the ball are playing each other. And besides turnovers, a lot of times fans think it's only about passing. A turnover could be also a moving screen, a walking violation, or an offensive foul, meaning a charge, or you boat a guy in the face when the guy's guarding you and you have the ball. It's a turnover. And then to add to this is that the Trailblazers are the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA, shooting a very chilly, emphasize chilly, 34.1%. And that they're the 28th worst shooting team overall in the NBA, shooting only 45%, with only the Pacers and the Nets worse. So, someone's got to win tonight. I know the Trailblazers are favored, but I'm going to lean towards the Jazz. The Jazz have good players. This is like a myth about people say about, tanking, etc. Hey, if I'm Isaiah Collier, forget about this tanking stuff. I'm getting a chance to play, and Isaiah Collier has played absolutely well. So I'm going to lean towards the Jazz tonight. But let's mention about Collier. Let's give him some kudos and a shout-out. Since the month of February, Sean, is that he's averaging 17.7 points per game and 12.2 assists. So this guy is averaging a double-double in the month of February, and he's shooting 52.6 from the field and getting 3.7 rebounds. So last night's game when the Jazz demolished the Sacramento Kings, he gets 12 points and 14 assists in the game. And that's absolutely impressive. So I'm looking for the Jazz tonight, to whoever's on the court, that Jazz play to win and enter the All-Star weekend with a winning 3 out of 4 games, including winning the last 3. And that'd be great for the Jazz, for the players. I lean towards the players and the coaches. Sean, I know I'm biased because I'm a former coach, is that the coaches want to win. Sean, when you're on the court and you tie your sneakers up, you want to win. You don't care about the 2026 draft. It's irrelevant. The only draft you care about is what? The draft in your window right now. Why is it so cold in my house right now? I have a draft right now. Sean, you're laughing. It's the truth. That's how players think. That's how I would think as a coach. Oh, the draft. What? It's chilly here right now. It's drafting. Right. Oh, the Jazz. Let's hope they come. They will come to play tonight. Should be a good game.
Before we get to your list, you decided you're going to be our ice dancing expert on the show.
Yes.
During this Olympics, and what a day yesterday in the Olympic ice dancing world.
Controversy. Very much, yeah. And here's the backdrop also, that I watched it this morning, but the Olympics recently, my wife and her 5 most dangerous friends, Sean, were watching Olympics together. And so picture me with these 5 women, ages, I will say, 60 and above.
Okay.
And they're all commenting about these hot guys that are Olympians. I'm so tired of hearing about hot guys that are Olympians. Hey, listen, whatever. I like the Olympics, but this is like, will you stop talking about these hot guys, how buff they are, and how agile they are? That's the backdrop.
Okay. All right. I would love to be invited to that viewing party, by the way. Just Gordy and 6 older women.
Yeah, older women, right. I know I'm age 75. I know I'm an oldster, but trust me, I was getting a headache listening to these women about these hot Olympians. All right, with that said, though, yeah, rhythm and ice dancing. So the Americans lost to the French in a really unbelievable performance by both duets, where, again, I don't know all the rules, but I just know there was technical things where the commentators kept on saying that coming out of a spin, that they lost a little bit of a point edge. And so it was spectacular. So the French won the gold. The silver medal was won by the Americans, and the Canadians won the bronze. Now the 2 Americans, Sean, and has a Sean, you believe in Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation?
Yes.
Do you? Yes,
sure.
you do.
Yeah.
All right. So here the question right now, as I say this, is that it involves the coaches now going from the Utes to Michigan.
Oh.
Kyle Whittingham. All right. Because you realize, Sean and James, that the silver medal winners, Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, they're married. They live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So there'll be a game, Sean, where those people will be trotted out at halftime.
That's right, with their silver medals.
That's exactly right, Sean. I know that you love Kevin Bacon. Besides, actually, you like bacon as far as eating it. Besides that, is that 6 degrees of separation. And so when I was watching it, is that it was really a great competition. Again, I'm an amateur. I'm just a fan saying this, but it was really great. And that also, it's even more amazing, Sean, that the gold medal winners, they're the French duet, they train with the American who came in second place. They have the exact same coach, and they train in Montreal, Quebec during the off season together. And so they're actually friends and talk about Sean, picture the practice sessions with both those duets.
Yeah, wild.
Right now. And so the last point about it is that I was amazed by the strength of all the athletes, by the agility, by their grace, by their technique, and most of all, by their oneness. And so in rhythm ice skating, it's two people, but they're actually one, the way they skate, Sean. So it was really spectacular. Kudos right now. I learned a lot about it, and I'm all for it, the Olympics, and I'm so glad, Sean, I'm with you instead of these crazy women. I thank you.
All right, what's the list today?
My list today, Sean, I'm going to quiz you guys also later on. So get ready, put on your thinking hat. I know it's hard for you guys to think sometimes, but we'll try to do this. This is the New Orleans Jazz, Utah Jazz All-Star Game selections of all time. All right, it's only 16 players, and I'll go through it quickly. Number 16, most recent, Larry Marketing, one time, 2023. Mike Conley, 2021, one time. Leonard Truck Robinson, 1978, one-time All-Star selection. Ricky Green, 1984, one-time. Mark Eaton, 1989, one-time. Andre Karolinko, 2004, one-time. Memino Kaur, one-time, 2007. Gordon Hayward, one-time, 2017. Two times. Carlos Boozer, 2007 and 2008. Two times, Darren Williams, his trusted sidekick, 2010, 2011. Three times, Rudy Gobert, 2020, 21, and 22. Again, his trusted ally, Donovan Mitchell, same years again, 2020 during the pandemic, 2021 and 2022, three times. Pistol Pete Maravich, three times, 1977, 1978, and 1979. Now, we'll mention the years now because it would take too long, but Adrian Dantley did it six times, the first time in 1980 and the last time in 1986. John Stockton, All-Star Game participant 10 times. The first time was 1989, and the last time was 2000. And the number one player to play most ever in Jazz history in the All-Star Game was Karl Malone. His first time was 1988, and his last time was 2002. He did it 14 times. All-Star Game. So the question right now also is, who's the next Jazz All-Star? Future out.
I could see Keontae getting a nod. I could see Ace Bailey at some point being an all-star. And obviously, Jaren Jackson Jr. has been an all-star before. I'd like to see him get back to that in a Jazz uniform.
Yes, I agree. All right, now let's go music right now. All right, Sean, in 1993, I know you guys are youngsters. All right, in 1993, who sang the national anthem at the Delta Center when John Stockton and Karl Malone were selected to be co-MVPs? 1993. Who do you think? James, who do you think? I know you just won at that time. You were barely born.
Yeah, I was a year old.
I know,
Gordy.
but you heard about it.
I have no idea. Let's see. Gordy Chiesa sang the. Did you sing it?
Oh, I'd be dangerous. Me singing. acapella. Yikes.
Was it Thurl Bailey?
Thurl Bailey? He was playing. No, it wasn't. But no, I love it. Good guess.
Donnie Osmond?
Donnie Osmond. I love these things. Please text Sean
Marie?
O'Connor at the text line about what you think right now. I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It was a group.
Ooh, Boys to Men?
That's exactly right.
Oh, I love me some Boys to Men.
All right, Boys to Men. There we go. All right. And in the most recent Jazz All-Star game, which was 2023, who sang the national anthem?
Oh, man, I should know that one.
All right. She was born in Alaska.
Jewel?
That's exactly right.
Jewel sang it?
I love these hints. I should
Wow.
be with you as far as in password
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Jewel, that's exactly right. Absolutely. All right. In 1989, when Karl Malone also became MVP in the Astrodome show, which you know it's considered the eighth wonder of the world, who sang the national anthem in 1989 when Karl's first ever MVP? She's famous.
Do I get a hint on this one?
All right, it's a female. Female. All right.
1989.
89, female.
Tina Turner.
Ooh. Oh, no, again, I'm impressed. You're close.
Okay.
You're
Whitney
close, you're
Houston?
You're close. You're close. You're right. You're close. You guys are close. Like, one more guess. I don't want to. People right now are driving in the car right now. They're yelling name out.
Aretha Franklin.
You're close again. I like it. You're
Gladys
close.
Knight.
You're close. I love it. You guys are reaching.
Okay, so we know
You're close.
we know
I love it.
It's one of the great female black singers.
Correct. Natalie Cole.
Oh, Natalie Cole.
Thus, that's
We
my
would've
list
be-
today. I
I
want
was
to
going to
try
say
to
Beyonce
educate
next.
Sean and also James are trying to educate these young fellas right now, and we all do love music. And I bet you right now, who's singing the national anthem on Sunday? Do you know?
No.
Brandy.
Charlie Puth.
Brandy.
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 Oh,
Absolutely.
Wait,
And the Canadian national anthem will be sung by Sarah McLachlan. Canadian.
Olympics, you mean?
No, Sunday, the All-Star game.
All-Star-
Who's singing this year? Got
Yeah, this
Oh, you
All-Star
said
game.
this past Sunday for
Well, I'm
the Super
sorry.
Bowl.
No, I
My
meant
bad.
no. I'm sorry. This All-Star game.
Brandy will
Brandy.
perform the national anthem
Yeah, Brandy.
at the 75th NBA All-Star
Yes,
game.
75 years.
Wow.
Absolutely. Thus, that's Melissa today. Sean I'm very impressed by your knowledge of music. James Peterson, I know you're a young guy. You're a little bit shaky, but that's okay.
James has never even listened to Boys to Men.
I'm not a big music guy, so it's no.
That's fair.
It's
That's
no
fair.
skin
That's
off my
fair. No,
back.
it's fair.
All right. Gordy, you're the man. Appreciate your time as always.
Thanks, guys. Peace out.
Gordy Chiesa, our resident NBA guru, brought to you by our good friends over at Aladdin Industries and America First Credit Union. Short track speed skating on the television right now. Some wild stuff. These are just the qualifying laps, but 2 crashes and 2 restarts in this last race? What are we doing? Eric Weddle's going to join us next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in Eric Weddle, the Utah football and NFL legend, friend of the program, and, of course, he's the head coach of the Rancho Bernardo Broncos. Weddle, what's up?
What is up, my friend?
You know, we're just watching some short track speed skating in these Winter Olympics.
Okay.
I don't know how you are when it comes to the Olympics. I've become an expert on every sport that I only watch once every 4 years. I really love the Olympics. Summer more than winter, but even these winter ones, I'm all in. Where do you stand on the Winter Olympics that are going on right now in Milan Cortina?
I couldn't tell you what events are going on, what channel, what time. Been a little, at night, very rarely are we sitting there watching TV. So, and then during the day, I got some other things going on. So, I'm not really in tune with it. Not saying I won't be, but as of right now, I couldn't tell you one thing or another about it.
Oh, very un-American stance by Eric Weddle, who's usually super American. But you know what? Can't have it all. All right, that's fine.
Just other things occupy my time right now other than watching the Olympics.
That's fine. That's fine. We will pick up the slack. We will give extra support to our country's athletes.
There we go.
That's
how we do it. We work together.
Since you refuse. All right. Let's talk about this Super Bowl. We're now heading into this long, dark period where we have no actual elite level football for 7 months. Although I guess I should give the UFL or whatever it's called now some credit. They're trying to give us spring football, and we'll have spring ball with Morgan Scalley soon enough. The Super Bowl, though, it wasn't the most viewership friendly one. It wasn't the most exciting back and forth game. But if you're a defender, a defensive mind, you might have loved that game. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, it was, the ins and outs, how they handled certain things, how the inept, I was really shocked at how lack of an adjustments that the Patriots did offensively and defensively, that they didn't adapt and didn't adjust to what Seattle was doing on both sides of the ball that I felt could have had a real impact on the game because it was close for the majority of the game. And so I was taking back a little bit of that, and the best team won. Honestly, like when you look back at the Seattle Seahawks, the connection, the team, and that overtime win against the Rams down 16 with 9 minutes to go, you just kind of felt that this was their year. That was a defining moment of their season, and they took it and ran with it and never looked back.
I mean, for me, because we had talked about this before the game was even played, that the NFC Championship was kind of like the de facto Super Bowl for a lot of people. Most thought that whoever won that was going to end up winning the Super Bowl, and I think the way that the actual game played out reinforced that for me. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, for sure. Like those two teams slugging it out, and the winner obviously being Seattle. You kind of just felt like that was a pre-Super Bowl, and whoever won that game, which ended up happening. And if you're the Rams, you just got to be sick. Back-to-back years, you have those games in the palm of your hands for a win, and potentially two more Super Bowls that slip away. Oh, you got to be sick for my Rams, and seeing how the back-to-back Super Bowls have come about. But Seattle was just loaded, man. They had just great. I've said this, and we've talked about it with the Utes, and we talked about it with BYU last year, about their team, watching them, how connected they were. Like, connection matters. And I don't know if you've noticed the head coaching hires, and I really enjoy listening to the press conferences and seeing how, like, their first intro, what are you all about? What are you going to emphasize, this, that? And a lot of them, to a man, have talked about the why and the connection and the relationships. And I really believe at the end of the day that separates the good and the great and championship caliber teams.
So Sam Darnold completes his great career comeback story, gets a Super Bowl championship as the quarterback of the Seahawks. And, I think he's approached the whole thing the right way. He never talked about having a chip on his shoulder about it. He didn't, even after the game, he wasn't like, yeah, I told you so. He's just been kind of like, I'm grateful that my teammates believed in me and that the Seattle Seahawks believed in me. Did you play with anyone in your career that had kind of been written off by the league, maybe had bounced around to a bunch of different teams and I don't know, you watch them in practice or you see what they can do in games, you're like, what the heck? Everybody got this guy wrong.
Oh man, that's a good question. I wish you could have prepped me on that so I can really
I like to keep
it.
I like to keep you on your toes, dog.
Yeah. I know when I got to Baltimore, there was a player, his name was Anthony Levine, and he's now the special teams coordinator, just got hired on with Jesse when he took over this season. And I first got there, and he was just a special teams guy for probably his first 4 years in the league. And I'm sitting there, and we're in meetings and practices, and I see him, in drills and moving around. I'm like, man, this guy has some unique ability, right? Some traits. And I pull him aside. I'm like, hey, what's the deal? Like, why haven't you played here? Because they just signed me at safety, and I'm looking at this dude. I'm like, man, this guy can play. So why'd they sign me? And he goes, I'm just a special teams player. And I'm like, hold on a second. I said, what do you mean? He's like, that's what they've told me. And so from that point on, I was like, well, that's going to change here. So you just follow me, and I'm going to help you out. And any chance I got, I found ways to get him on the field and being able to, help him in areas that he needed help, but just really instilling that confidence. And he became a core, third down dime linebacker for us, safety, and really prolonged his career. And so, for that, it just comes down to, do you believe in somebody, and are you willing to give them a chance? And for Sam, it's, so oftentimes he was in a tough situation, and it always comes back to the team. And do you have a good team around you? It's hard for an individual to carry an entire team. And so to see his success and his bounce back per se. What's even crazier is Ryan Clark. Holy smokes. He needs to get reprimanded for that comment saying he would take 9 other quarterbacks ahead of Sam. I mean, holy smokes, Ryan. Come on now. We can't be saying that type of gibberish. So I've seen it happen, not to the extent of Sam, especially in his case where he's a quarterback and very rarely do you even get a second or third chance, and he has, and man, he made the most of it.
I want to go back to that story you just told about taking a new teammate kind of under your wing and helping him improve his career. How typical is that, where a guy in your position in that case, the more veteran guy, sees somebody who's talented, that is a threat to whatever, longevity, playing time, whatever, and still, for the sake of that individual, for the sake of the benefit of the team, is willing to be like, all right, let me help you get better. Because, I mean, I know that that's very much part of your personality, but how many guys in the NFL do that with the guys in the locker room?
Well, when I got to Baltimore, it was year 10, and you grow, you learn, you become very confident in yourself of what you are, what you can bring, leadership, talent, as a teammate, how to bring others with you. So in my mind, when I got to that, I was very secure with myself, even early on. I knew who I was, I knew what I could bring. It was just more like becoming that type of player that you want to become. So when I got to Baltimore, I'm like, hey, it's my time. I've done the All-Pros, I've done the Pro Bowls. It's now about getting more out of everyone else, right? Getting everyone to play at a level that maybe they didn't know they could get to. And then how can we build the best team possible to go win a Super Bowl? So that was always the focus, and never was, oh gosh, is this guy going to take my job? Is he going to be better than me? at the end of the day, football, you're either going to go earn it across the white lines or you're not. And people that are scared of competition, scared of adversity, don't want to put themselves in those positions, they never make it. And so I try to welcome it any chance I could get. I'm out there competing and pushing my teammates, pushing myself, because we all get better in the long run. And if I end up getting beat out, then I end up beating out.
What do you make of the hyper focus on Will Campbell, the left tackle for New England? I thought he's handled it after skipping post-game media. I think he's handled it, pretty well since then. He's a young player that had a really bad Super Bowl and got dragged in the media for it. What do you think of the focus on him, and I guess how that story will develop moving forward?
Well, I mean, as a football player, you're going to have moments where you are told how bad you are. You're not a good football player. You're not to the level that is needed. And if you're a football player and you get to the tippity top, you're going to go through that. I went through it. I had everyone my first couple years in the league saying, why we trade all these picks? This guy can't play. He can't cover. He can't tackle. He has 125 tackles. It means he can't cover. And just like people on the outside that really don't know, and then you love how Coach Vrabel handled it and instilled confidence and belief. And look, he's a rookie. He battled injuries and got thrust into a moment that he's just at the moment, he's not good enough. But that doesn't mean he can't get there. And you just hope that he'll take that approach, which he most likely will. I mean, his mindset and dedication to his craft, you go work, and it'll pay dividends over the long haul. So, I loved how Big Whit and Fitz podcast, he talked about this, and he got into details about it, which, the easy answer is, just move him to guard and he'll be a great guard. Well, they didn't draft him to play guard, and they're going to keep him at tackle, so what are you going to do about it? And Whit had a great observation about it, and he put it like this, like, Will Campbell is playing the position as if he's Andrew Whitworth, or if he is a 6'7", long-armed, long-limbed athlete, where that's not him, that's not his body. And he said he needs to watch, I can't remember the guy, the tackle, but basically watch this player because that's who you look like, that's your body type, and go watch how he plays and how he jump sets and how he's aggressive and how he mauls guys in the run game, but also in the pass game, and how your offensive coordinator can help that by chips, but also setting it up so when your number is called where you're one-on-one and you got to block this guy, that you're confident with it, not just drop back passing every other rep. So I thought it was really good intel and just intuition of the position, and I expect him to be fine. He seems like a great kid, and it just so happens that he struggled in the Super Bowl, but whether he played good or not, they weren't going to win.
If Robert Kraft called you today and said, "Hey, you're my GM. What do we need to do to make sure that this team stays at the top of the AFC and we can try to build another little dynasty? We've got the right guy at quarterback." What are you drafting around Drake May, or how are you using capital with trades or anything else? What are you adding to that Patriots team so next time around they are good enough?
Yeah, I think where they're picking at the end of the round one, it would be tough to maybe grab one of those top receivers. I think just an explosive wideout. Like, I think 8 has some ability. I think Diggs is on the way out. Not that he can't play anymore, but he's an aging veteran. So we need some explosive, just like a go-to guy that can beat man-to-man coverage, that can win over the top. So maybe identifying that person. I don't know if there's someone like that in the draft. And then also, like, a tight end to couple. Like, I know with McDaniels and the type of offense they want to run with the play action and under center, and I think they got away from that in the Super Bowl. They want to run the football, play action, and hit those shots in a timely fashion. So is tight end out there? I know the guy from Oregon's one of the top tight end in the draft. So is there anyone in the second and third round? But I'm trying to load up offensively with skill guys and then any type of pass rush help to help their defense, because the secondary is top notch. They have young studs. The safety's a young guy. I think he was a rookie. I think his name was Williams or Watson or something, but he was making plays all over the field. So I think they can rebound. The schedule is going to be tougher. Obviously, being first, they're going to play a bunch of tougher teams. But the standard is set. Vrabel is one of the best coaches in the league, so I expect them to have a good season next year.
Your way too early prediction for the Super Bowl champion when the game is played in 2027. Who's going to win it next year?
The Rams. The Homer E-Dub is picking the Rams in SoFi. And I'll even go to the extent that they'll have – I don't want to put this out there, but they'll ask Coach Weddle to come back as a player coach to help in the playoff run. And I'm going to pleasantly decline because they don't need it.
You're going to say yes. You're going to accept that challenge. You're going to hey, an extra 5 years of health insurance, dog. Do what your boy.
I'm with you. I need to pull a little Philly Phil.
Yeah.
My insurance is coming up this year, so
hey, the thing,
a big dent in my monthly payments.
The thing is, dude, you could just be the holder or something. You know, you've done it all on a football field. You could fill whatever role they need. Just be the PAT holder.
I definitely could. I mean, hey, if Sean calls, I'm definitely going to take the call. And I doubt anything will come from it other than, hey, how you doing?
No, wrong. If you get that call, you owe it to the rest of us old retired schlubs. You gotta take it. You gotta go.
Take it. Okay.
All
I'll
right.
do it for everybody else.
All right, you're the man, dude. Appreciate you.
You got it, bro.
Have a good one. That's Eric Weddle, the Utah football legend. I hope and think the future NFL Pro Football Hall of Famer. And the head coach of the Rancho Bernardo Broncos. Pretty soon he's going to be more famous for being Gage Weddle's dad. So he might as well take those phone calls. All right. Okay. Again, it's a really unpleasant thing to talk about, but Parker Kingston, BYU's leading receiver from last year, has been arrested. He is in jail right now on first-degree felony charges. All right. I had some people text me when they heard me talking about it in the first segment, including a criminal trial lawyer, all right? And he gave me some valuable insights that I want to make sure we update people with. If we're talking about something of this import and seriousness, I want to do it the right way. And thankfully, I have some information I think helps us do that. I'll share it with you next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. The truck with the duck can handle all of your plumbing, heating, and air situations. If you're a homeowner, you need a plumber you could trust. You need someone who could check your furnace. You need someone who will give that air conditioner a tune-up every spring. Look for the truck with the duck. Reach out to Valley. Tell them OC sent you. Valley Plumbing and the truck with the duck is now Valley Heating and Air in addition to plumbing. All right, unfortunately, the Daily Dump is for some of the biggest headlines of the day, and on a day like today, I hate to have to do it, but one of the biggest headlines is the arrest of BYU wide receiver Parker Kingston on a felony rape charge, stemming from an incident that allegedly happened last February 23rd of 2025, and an attorney friend of mine heard us talking about it in the first segment. He sent me the probable cause statement, the arrest warrant, and what it's based on. And he also sent me kind of his assessment of it, of what's going on here. So the detective for the St. George Police Department, who's been on this case, issued this warrant on February 10th, so just a couple days ago. And obviously, Kingston is currently in custody, held without bail, which I'm told is not abnormal in the state of Utah. Any felony case that involves sexual assault is typically, it starts without bail. And we'll get to that. That's more stuff from the attorney. But the detective made contact with the alleged victim on the 27th of February. So this would have been 3-4 days after the alleged contact. She told the detective that she had established with Parker Kingston after inviting him over, or while inviting him over, that she did not intend to have intercourse with him. And that's established. That this is the digital evidence they're talking about in the case. That's established in the text messages between the two. And the detective feels like, well, he's seen the evidence, and that was what was established. Now, it's very similar to the Retzlaff case in that there was some kind of affection, some kind of hooking up going on, and then the player allegedly started to fall asleep. She started to go get ready for bed, came back, according to the arrest warrant, about 15 minutes later, and that's when he forced himself upon her, according to the complaint. Now, this is where, again, I just don't want any of this to be the case. I don't want any of this to be true. I hope that Parker Kingston never did this and that this never happened. But the detective did interview Parker Kingston, and he claimed that the sexual activity was consensual. She ended up going to the hospital to report a sexual assault, but he says it was consensual, and that is where the case is now. But the detective and Washington County felt like that's enough to arrest Kingston and put him in jail. Now, this is more breakdown from my attorney friend. He could stay in jail for up to 2 to 3 weeks until his attorneys can schedule a detention hearing in which he'll more than likely be granted bail. The case will probably last 1 to 2 years, and I expect he will be out, meaning Kingston, will be out while he fights the charges. Unfortunately for him, his defense is that it was consensual, as suggested in the probable cause statement. It won't be like Retzlaff because the criminal case will be pending, and BYU won't let him play with this criminal case pending. His BYU career is almost certainly over. From a defense standpoint, if he has maintained his innocence, the case against him will be tough to prove. She says that there was activity, and then he escalated it. He says it was consensual unless there is forensic evidence, i.e. a medical exam, or corroborating evidence, like texts or statements from him. It is pretty thin he said, she said case. But this, he then acknowledges this is an attorney. He says, but I haven't seen all of the evidence. If it is a weak case, they will offer him a very good deal. I have a client charged with this, and they offered him a misdemeanor with 60 days in jail. His client said no, by the way. If it's a strong case, he will probably offer an attempted or forcible assault, and that's something like 9 to 24 months in jail. That's in the case of a plea bargain. So I just want to make sure that I'm not approaching this only from an emotional opinion standpoint. Those are the facts of the case. Public record, probable cause statement. And it boils down to, like so many of these cases do, and where it gets difficult for me in this position, because I don't know any more than you know, having read this. I don't know actually what happened. But like a lot of these cases, what started off as an encounter between, this is a 20-year-old woman, by the way, so an encounter between two adults ended up being something where they either interpreted it very differently, or in the worst case scenario, there was no misinterpretation of the signals, and he just decided he was going to get what he wanted. Now, the digital evidence is something we don't talk about in these cases ever. The idea that she firmly established an expectation like, hey, this is not going to happen even if you come over, and said, if that's why you want to come over, don't come over. And then he did come over, and then it ended up happening. Again, you got to look at both sides of it. Of course, people change their mind. Of course, in the heat of the moment, your conviction to not do something sometimes ends up with you doing it anyway. That can be complicated in cases like this one. But I had someone texting me and saying, hey, no, this is a money grab. The Jake Retzlaff case, a lot of people interpreted the Retzlaff case that way because that was a civil case. That was a civil liability case where the victim, the alleged victim in that situation, wanted financial compensation for what she said happened to her. This is not that. Not yet. There could be a civil case down the road. If you believe that this is just a girl trying to grab money from Parker Kingston, first of all, I hope you don't develop such a jaded view of the world that that's how you view every accusation from every woman. I know we're not in a situation where you can just believe everything at face value, but this is a criminal case. If you believe that this is a money grab, and that's the hill that you're going to die on, then you also believe that this detective, the hospital, the police department of St. George, and Washington County prosecution is complicit in saying, well, this will at some point down the road result in a money grab for this young woman, and we think that's enough reason to pursue this case. I'm the biggest conspiracy theorist most of you know. I don't believe that many people are just like, yeah, let's ruin Parker Kingston's life. Let's screw this up for BYU football. That's not what this is about. Don't pretend that that's what this is about. Again, my sincere hope is that this did not happen the way that the probable cause statement says that it happened. And that there was no forcible assault in this situation. That is a horrific crime, and anyone guilty of it should be punished to the full extent of the law, which, by the way, in this case, first-degree felony charges for this crime in the state of Utah, 5 years to life. That's what we know. That's the information we have. Blah. We'll get to Bobby Marks next. Look, he thought that maybe the Utah Jazz, with their resting of players in the fourth quarter, was guilty of undermining the integrity of the NBA. I want to know if he still feels that way today. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show here, hour number 3 on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. We're lucky enough to welcome in Bobby Marks, NBA insider, NBA front office insider over at ESPN, noted advocate for adoptable animals as well. Bobby, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are we doing?
Doing all right. You stirred up a little hornet's nest here in Salt Lake City. With
Shoot, I don't think the Utah marching band is going to be waiting for me when I land at the airport there. Goodness gracious, I touched the nerve, I see.
Well, yeah, you probably know enough about us around here to know that we're very territorial about our sports and our sports teams.
I know you are.
The comment was the Utah Jazz tanking, or, lack of a better term, tanking, is messing around with the integrity of the NBA. I want to give you an opportunity to clarify. On the court.
Yeah, on the court.
Okay.
That's what I'm. When you manipulate the game, that messes around with the integrity of the game. That's what I was referring to. Certainly, what happened in Orlando when you're winning and you take your starters out and you rest them in the fourth quarter. That's when you start manipulating with the integrity of the game. The ability to rest players, the ability to have, injured players not play the rest of the season. We've all done that. We've all done that as far as the ability to, focus on player development the second half of the season and all that, and jockeying for lottery. But I know where Utah is in the, the ability to retain their first is certainly a priority for them. And if it falls outside the top 8, it goes to Oklahoma City. But no, my and I know it's been, because I've seen it, and people say, well, San Antonio did it. And look at Sacramento last night. My comments were more about just on the court, not kind of everything else out there.
Sure, that makes perfect sense. How is it different though, tanking wire to wire from the opening tip of a game all the way to the end, with a player being left on the bench because of a phantom injury or shut down with a minor surgery or something like that, versus just making sure the outcome is the same? You lose the game, but Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. get 3 quarters of basketball together. The goal is oddly, strangely, uncomfortably to lose. How does it matter, or how is it different if you lose like 1 quarter versus 4?
Well, I mean, you're up in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden you bench your starters. I mean, we all know why the reason is. I mean, I think that matters. That should matter. I would have been happier if those guys just never even stepped on the court.
I'm asking you, why would you be happier with that though?
Because the game is going on. Once you step on the court, the goal is to put your best players out there. That's
I mean, we know that's not true.
No. Listen, I've never seen what happened over the weekend before, where you basically pull your starters in the fourth quarter. This isn't the preseason, and I understand the goal is to get a high lottery pick and retain your pick and understand there, and to go through a game and you're going on the other team's going on a 15-0 run, and we're not calling timeouts and we're not doing anything. Like that's what bothered. And it wasn't just me. Listen, you can pull a third of the league and everything. That's a pretty wide ranging consensus there.
I understand. I'm not trying to attack you for having the opinion. I don't understand why that is different than not having the guys in the lineup in the first place when they actually are available, when they are healthy enough to play, and you say they got back spasms, because the goal is the same for teams in these situations. And we've seen many examples of it where you just don't play them at all. Playing them for 3 quarters or not playing them at all, if it results in a loss, or you don't call timeouts and it results in a loss, when the goal is, without saying the quiet part out loud, your goal is to lose as many games as you can so you can protect this pick, or you can maximize your draft lottery odds. We've seen the Jazz do it the other way, where they just don't play Lauri Markkanen and they say, oh yeah, he's hurt. And you didn't react that way. A third of the league didn't react that way, when you probably knew Lauri was healthy enough to play, but he just didn't.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no. I mean, I think as I said, listen, I think if we're ranking, I guess, the way to tank, to the ability to manipulate the game while it's going on, I would put up as the number one reason why it certainly irks me, and it probably irks a lot of people out there.
Does it matter to anyone besides bettors? Was that why there's a lot of anger about this? Because, it changes one of the major revenue streams for people associated with the league, for the league itself, with all the betting stuff that goes on in pro sports. And you think, these guys are playing, and they are playing, that might change the way that the betting outcomes happen if you just inexplicably bench them in a quarter or a half or whatever?
That's probably a question for some. I don't get involved in the gambling aspect of this all. Like that's somebody for DraftKings or FanDuel or one of those companies to answer that. I do know that from I guess what they've been told. Certainly some games or certain teams are going to be pulled off the board because of situations like that. But yeah, that's something for one of those companies to answer there.
As far as the NBA rules are concerned, where look, the NBA is concerned about tanking, diminishing the product, and they will fine teams, and they will give you the slap on the wrist or a serious reprimand or a financial penalty for doing the other form of tanking, for not making a player available when the league decides he should be available on a second half of a back-to-back or whatever. Is this something now the league is going to have to address in this Jazz method, where like you can't bench someone for a fourth quarter randomly? Because I don't know how you.
I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I mean, and it's not. Listen, this is not just Utah. Like this is certainly they, or the team that's talked about a lot here. But it's the league has an issue, and the league created the issue. I mean, we live in a world where we incentivize tanking. We incentivize teams to lose to build to get the best draft pick possible, and that from there's two ways to look at it. From being in a front office and having gone through it, I get it. I would want to get the highest pick possible out there, and then there's certainly the media perspective and from that angle there, and the league is the one that is going to need to address it, and it's not going to be. Hey, we're going to remove pick protection, or we're going to do some of these other things. They're the ones who are going to have to figure out how do you not incentivize teams from losing. Certainly the second half of the year, because in reality, the product on the court is not very good right now. Like that's the big reality here. We're watching some of these games and teams are losing by 40, 50 points. And some of it's because players are resting. Some of it's because, certainly some players are being held out. And I think, how do you get back to where there's more of a better product on the court?
If Adam Silver calls you and says, Bobby, I want you to save us from our own problem we've created, what would your suggestion be? Do you have a good plan to address this for the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, Mike Zarin, who is the assistant GM with the Celtics, proposed something a while back where it's a wheel, where it's basically like, it's almost like, playing a carnival game here, where you're basically kind of spinning the wheel and it rotates by year. And it's not based on how you finish in the standings. I think that's certainly one thing. And, of course, the league will probably look at, do you freeze, the records after a certain point of the year? I think they've done the goal of, finish getting the best pick because you have the worst record. I think that has certainly helped, because you have a better chance at, if you're at number one going into the lottery, of finishing at 4 or 5 here. So they've certainly flattened out the odds more here. But I do think, how do we get to a position in the second half where the games mean something for teams outside of teams competing for a playoff spot?
We started the show today almost laughing about the timing of an announcement that Jaren Jackson Jr. was going to be shut down the rest of the way for a knee surgery, because, the Jazz are never talked about. The Utah Jazz are never their names not coming out of your mouth all that often, and the other big-time NBA insiders were talking about the Utah Jazz for less than pleasant reasons. But then immediately following this, the team makes an announcement like, oh, we didn't realize this about his knee when we made the trade, and now we realize it about his knee, so we're going to shut him down. I cannot separate those two things from a timing perspective. When you saw the announcement, what did you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was something I never heard of.
Okay.
But I don't want to put.
I thought I was being ignorant by not knowing what that was. I was just like, hold on a second. I've been covering sports. I've played sports. I've heard of every possible knee injury there is. I've never heard of PVSN.
Yeah. No, I listen. I never want to go down. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole and stuff like that. Certainly, if a player's hurt and he's, I don't think anybody really elects to have surgery, or he shouldn't at least, willingly and everything like that. So, but yeah, listen. If he's hurt, he's hurt, and he's out for the year. But listen, I am a huge fan. The guys in that front office, and Will's a heck of a coach, and it really wasn't directed at Utah. It's really directed at the whole league. But I think that one, we talked about, that one situation kind of irked me a little bit more than probably some of the other things that hadn't been going on.
Bobby Marks, our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking all things hoop. If you extricate the tanking and all that, and you just examine this Utah Jazz roster post-trade and how Jaren Jackson Jr. elevates this front court especially, and maybe accelerates a timeline where this team can be competitive. Like your front office hat, what does it tell you about what this trade does for the Utah Jazz?
I think you have to like it. I mean, I think you've seen some glimpse of it during the last week here when they've gone with the big lineup, whether it be with him or Larry and Nurk, and if you swap out Nurk and you put Kessler in there next year, you've got three bigs. I think that if Keontae hadn't taken such a big step like he's done this year, I don't know if you're doing a deal like that, and you'll likely add a top 8. You should add a top 8 pick here, and it could be a really good draft here. So I think when we remove everything else, I like the direction of where they are. I like the trade. I think you had to be somewhat of aggressive and accelerate the rebuild a little bit here, and you traded some picks that, as acquired in the past, and you were able to cash in on them.
How should we feel about Keontae George as the emerging player that he became, really, especially this year? A little ankle injury, taking some time away from him. But has he played himself into that I'm part of the core, a meaningful part of the Jazz core moving forward conversation?
He has. I think that the biggest question I had with Utah, this was last offseason here, was kind of who is that blue chip prospect, right? Who is that, if we're using like baseball analogy, who's that AAA player that is ready to get called up and have an impact here? And I think it's one thing that to draft and have all these players on rookie contracts and everything, but eventually you gotta hit on some of them, and I think that's probably a big reason why they selected Ace in the draft. But I think the jump from where Keontae is, I think you could probably put him in that blue chip conversation.
Well, we're hoping that this upcoming NBA draft, they can acquire another blue chip talent, and obviously that's a big part of why the tank is happening. I called it a gentleman's tank for a while because they were trying to do it without being obvious. Now, post trade, I think they're like, look, guys, we're doing it. We're hustling towards a spot where we're competitive again. And the fan base seems to have kind of accepted that reality, and I probably count myself among those here in Salt Lake that are like, fine, if this is what you got to do to get there, go ahead. But it still means you're hoping for a great pick this year.
Sure.
And obviously, people have googly eyes for A.J. DeBonsa and his association here at BYU. When you look at the players in this draft, how do you handicap them, and who do you think is most likely to end up in Utah?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly with AJ's been able to do at BYU, and you guys have seen him and up close of him, his body of work. Certainly a big wing. Darren Peterson's going to be an interesting conversation at Kansas, just because he's probably the most talented player, but the availability hasn't been there, as much as people would hope. Cam Boozer at Duke is more of a big. I don't know if that fits where you are with your bigs and everything like that. Kingston Flemings, who's just there for a couple of games from Houston, is a heck of a player here. So I think the top of it is really good. I think if you're at the end of in the 7 to 8 range, I think it's really strong. Some people are equating it to the 96 draft and the 03 draft, which were somewhat generational here, but it's American dominated. I think there's the majority of the top 13, top 14 are based on college kids who are freshmen right now. So I do think there's a there's an opportunity to go out and get an impact player.
What are we going to say when we look back at this All-Star break coming up about the format changes and about the players who get to participate versus who don't? Is this going to be the fix that the NBA hopes it will be?
Well, you know what? If you listen to Kevin Durant, he kind of lit a little bit of a fire under the international group, I would say, right? As far as him, basically calling out Luka, and probably Luka's not playing, but Luka and Jokic and that group basically saying, hey, why is it the Americans that are always called out? I'm watching them, flop and not take this game serious here. So maybe that kind of sets a little bit of a tone there.
Cooper Flagg, we all fell in love with the idea of him potentially ending up in Salt Lake City. Obviously, it didn't happen that way, but we've got a nice sample size. He's going to miss the All-Star game a weekend, and he's going to miss this game against the Lakers, I guess. But where is he at in terms of what you expected from him as a rookie?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think he's every bit as advertised as he was coming out of Duke, and I know it kind of got off to a little bit of a slower start, but I think that's part of him, just kind of figuring out his way with Dallas. And I love his balance. I love his ability to get downhill. I think he's tough as nails here. As you said, he's got a little bit of an injury right now, so you won't see him in the Rising Stars game and everything like that. But, yeah, I mean, him, Knipple has been really good, in Charlotte there. I always go back to seeing him, like, how did this team not win the national championship when you had that, that Duke team, which was pretty loaded there. But, no, Cooper's been really good.
How much of A.J. DeBonsa have you been watching? Is he as advertised? Is he like this year's Cooper Flagg?
I think he's the most consistent player out of the group. I think there's some consistency. I don't remember a time, I think this was a game in late December, where teams are already game planning for a player by whether it be sending doubles at him in a late December, early January game where it's the primary focus to take that player out of the game. So yeah, I've seen him play a bunch here. I do think, listen, it's a position of need. We always sat around a front office and say, how do we get a big wing? How do we get a 6'7", 6'8" wing that can score? I think there's still a lot more for him to develop with, but I think he could be really good.
Bobby, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you jumping on with me, especially after, probably your Twitter was blown up by Utah Jazz fans.
No, I'm a good sport about it. And I said, I knew as soon as, I had a friend who said to me, I don't know if you're pretty popular in Salt Lake City right now. And I said, listen, if they call, I'll definitely come on the radio and talk about it. And
well,
everything.
I appreciate that because not everyone would. And we had Gordy Chiesa in studio earlier today. He joins us every week to talk NBA basketball. And he had nice things to say. So even if a lot of Jazz fans don't have nice things to say, Gordy Chiesa spoke.
Don't forget when you get that pick, and look, we get to mid-May, and you're picking in the top 8 or maybe 1 or 2. They're all gonna forget about me.
As long as you say nice things, people here are elephants, man.
I will.
Bobby, thanks for your time. Appreciate you, sir.
Thanks. Talk to you. You got it.
Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA insider, spent a lot of time working, a couple of decades working in the NBA in front offices. And you heard Gordy Chiesa earlier say he was identified very young in his career as a rising star in the business. He decided to get into the media side. He's done a really great job there, even if he doesn't always say what you want to hear as a Utah Jazz fan.
Well, and honestly, hearing him expound a little bit more on why he said what he said on NBA Today, Jazz are messing with the integrity of the NBA. Hearing him say, seeing them play guys and then pull them in an attempt to throw the game, hitting a nerve. I mean, I feel like I can understand that a little bit, but also
I don't.
I don't understand. I don't understand why this wasn't the reaction to the Toronto Raptors last year. For example,
I'm totally fine with him trying to articulate the reasoning, and I genuinely do appreciate him coming on and being willing to, and he was a great sport about it. When you decide you're going to lose the game, whether it's before the tip-off or in the fourth quarter, I don't understand the difference between those two things. If you're trying to win, which is what every team should be trying to do, then do that, right? If you have either implicitly or explicitly stated that, hey, we're gonna maximize losses here so we can benefit in the draft lottery situation from it, then you just have to accept that there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat.
Yeah.
And this one seems to have struck a nerve with Bobby's right. It wasn't only him. It was a bunch of people around the NBA. I think a big reason for that is because it's easy to punch down on the Utah Jazz. And there's a lot of people who don't like tanking in general, and they want to put a face to it. And it's easier to put a face to the Utah Jazz and not have people push back than to say, well, look, San Antonio Spurs a couple years ago. Everyone's like, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. You can't say anything about the San Antonio Spurs.
That's Greg Popovich you're talking about.
You can't say bad things about Pop's decision-making, and obviously it worked out nicely for him.
The funny thing about that is we know how blunt Greg Popovich became over the years, certainly, and is. He probably would say to them, what are you talking about? I did that.
Yes.
I would have done the same thing. I did do the same thing.
I honestly think it is a better way to tank, to let the guys play together a little bit, to give the fans something to watch. If you buy Jazz tickets tonight, they're $7, okay? When you buy a Jazz ticket for $7, you know that you're getting a lot of Bryce Sensabaugh, right? But wouldn't it be better if you were getting 3/4 of a reasonable starting lineup, and then you were getting a lot of Bryce Sensabaugh? Sorry, Bryce, I don't mean to throw you under the bus here. But the
then
point
you were
stands.
getting the young guys that you don't know near as much about. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if what you're doing is losing, I could be mad about you losing, or I can be not mad about how you lose. It's binary to me. You're either okay with them losing on purpose, or you're not. And if you're not, sure. But if you are okay with them losing, which everyone in the NBA has to be because of the system that the NBA set up, everyone's like, yeah, everyone kind of does it. Okay, we'll deal with it. It doesn't matter how you do it then.
Yeah. It's pretty Bush League to just be like, well, the Jazz relative popularity around the sport is not near as high as the Lakers or the Warriors or the Celtics or whoever. So you know what? We can get mad about this. So let's make an example out of them. Like
there's probably a list.
It's crazy.
There's probably a list at the ESPN offices. Like if you want to take shots at a team,
well, you certainly can't against the Lakers.
It has to be the Memphis Grizzlies, the Utah Jazz, the Orlando Magic, the New Orleans Pelicans. It's probably a 5-team list. You can say something bad about the soon-to-be Seattle Supersonics, but don't say anything bad about the Lakers, the Knicks, maybe the 76ers. I don't know. We got to take a break. Bill Riley's going to join us next. I told you it was a jam-packed show. Bill's going to be our last guest, and then we'll give away some tickets. And we've got topical trivia, and we've got crosstalk. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92 on FM. We welcome in the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley. A conversation brought to you every week by Handy and Handy at handylawutah.com. Bill Riley, how are you, sir?
Sean O'Connell, I'm great, sir. How are you? What's going on?
Just hanging out, talking all things really NBA heavy today with some Jazz news about a surgery happening and whatnot. But let's get into some other hoops, some running Utes hoops. It's been a dark stretch. 6 Big 12 conference games in a row now dropped by the running Utes. Up next will be a Cincinnati road trip. And look, the competition in the Big 12, we knew this was going to be tough. Kansas and Houston in back-to-back weeks, that's a nasty thing. But give me a sense, like put your finger on the pulse of this team and where things are at right now.
Well, like you said, it's losing 6 in a row is not good. And what's been interesting in the 6-game losing streak, Sean, is they've played well at times. I mean, there were stretches in that game Saturday at Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse where they're neck and neck with the Jayhawks. There were stretches in that BYU game in Provo where they're neck and neck with the BYU Cougars. They held Houston 12 points under their season average and gave the number 3 team in the country, some fits at times. But that's it. It's been at times. But then you've got a loss to Arizona State at home, a loss to Oklahoma State at home, where you kind of feel like if they had brought the same effort they played with, say, against Kansas or against BYU, they might have won those games. So I know there's some frustration. I know Alex, he's a coach and he's a winner. He never lost a game at home as a Ute. So there's some frustration there. I mean, they knew that this was not going to be their best year. It's the first year. But to your point, when you're 1-10 in conference play and you've lost 6 in a row, there's some frustration there. And that's not going to be an easy road swing. Cincinnati, are they great? No. But they just went on the road last night and beat Kansas State on the road by almost 30. So they're going to be at home. They've won, 5 games in conference play. Then you've got to go play at West Virginia. And West Virginia's a good team. It's not an easy road swing coming up here for Utah. And you hope maybe you're on the road together. You're away from campus, away from distractions. Maybe you kind of circle the wagons up just a little bit. But they need to find some positivity and be able to channel that here on the road.
You need positivity. You need progress. Nobody is expecting them to be world beaters in Alex Jensen's first year, especially given the state of the roster and things like that. But you want to see progress. Where is the most likely spot in your mind for that progress to show, maybe even as early as this road trip?
Well, I mean, don't turn the basketball over. You can do that. They've rebounded the basketball better than they did early in the season. But the other thing you've got to do, and they did this in stretches against both Kansas and Houston, they've guarded better. And if you can play with that same intensity, you know this, Sean, defense, it's a want to, it's an effort thing. It's mostly that in most sports. Football's the same thing. It's a want to, it's an effort thing. Offense is different. But if they bring that same type of effort they played with for, say, 10 or 12 minutes at Kansas or 10 or 12 minutes the other night against Houston on the defensive end, in the Big 12 Conference, it doesn't matter if you're playing Kansas or Houston or BYU or if you're playing Baylor or Colorado or ASU, you've got to bring the intensity and energy because even the teams toward the bottom of the standings are good teams. There aren't many, if any, nights off in the Big 12 Conference. So you've got to make it a 35, 40-minute effort every single night, not just picking your spots here and there.
Well, to that point, I mean, you've seen a lot of these teams home or away now. You've seen the number 1 team in the nation a couple of times, BYU, your in-state rival, that put a lot behind this basketball team and just had to snap their own losing streak. How do you handicap the Big 12 Conference in maybe those top 4, top 5 teams right now? Because it is a good league.
I think it's a definitive top 5 team, Sean, and then there's a middle section. BYU was in that group, but they've fallen on some harder times. I think that they've been exposed a little bit in league play. They've got an outstanding top 3, but after that, they're a bit deficient. I think they missed Dawson Baker coming off the bench. I still think the best team in the league is Arizona. even though they lost the other night on Big Monday. They lost at Kansas in a one-possession game late. I still think they're really good. I think Houston didn't play their A game in Salt Lake the other night, but I think they're the second-best team. The hottest team in the league right now is Kansas. They've beaten Arizona. They've beaten Texas Tech. They've beaten BYU in this stretch. And then I think Iowa State and Texas Tech are right there, too. So that's kind of a top five. Then that middle tier has BYU in it. I think they're the best team in the middle tier. UCF's having a surprisingly good year with Johnny Dawkins this year. And then West Virginia. And then I think there's a tier of another 4 or 5 teams. And then right now Utah and K-State are kind of toward the bottom because they've had their struggles. But I think there's 5 teams that I think could be Final Four teams. And I think there's 2 teams that I think could win the national championship in the Big 12. That's Arizona and Houston.
You've been the voice of the Utes for a really long time now, and you've gotten to call games, football, basketball, baseball, whatever, in some pretty iconic arenas, venues, stadiums. Is it surreal when you're at, Allen Fieldhouse where it all began for you?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Well, not weird, but like maybe surreal is the better word, like you said. I hadn't called a game there since I was a student. When I was a senior, we called 5 or 6 basketball games for the student radio station in that building. I've been back for a few games over the years, but not very many. But it was weird coming back and seeing everything. I saw a lot of people that I knew, Sean, that I either went to school with or were professors of mine. I saw my broadcast mentor, a guy by the name of Tom Hedrick. After the game, he is 91 years old and still sharp as a tack. But it was a unique experience going back. I wish, Utah could have given a little bit better, closer game, but they hung in there. They didn't get blown out or anything like that. But it was fun to be back and see a lot of folks that I had known from years gone by and make some, kind of reconnect just a little bit too.
How do you assess what's going on with Darren Peterson at Kansas? I mean, they talk about him as maybe the number 1 overall pick. He might be the most talented guy in college hoop right now, but there's an availability issue. And, I always question when we're talking about guys in that situation, if the injuries start to pile up or the illnesses start to pile up, I don't know that I want to invest a lot of trust in him if I'm drafting near the top. How do you handle that?
I don't. I talked to people when I was at Kansas, and everybody's kind of like it's a mystery because the things that bother him are not things that you show up on an X-ray or an MRI. It's cramping. Boy, you'd figure after 10 or 12 games you'd be able to figure out what's going on with that. And then the other night against Arizona, didn't play in that game. They beat the number 1 team. But he had flu-like symptoms. It's a really strange situation. The weird thing is they played great the other night without him. I mean, let's not cry for Kansas. They've got 4 or 5-star talent all over the place. They're a really good team. They could make a run deep in the tournament, but I'm not sure that they're good enough to win a national championship without Darren Peterson. So it's one of those conundrums. Hey, yeah, we played hard. We reward the guys that are behind that are really good too, but if you want to reach that ultimate destiny, I think if you're Kansas, you probably have to have the guy that's going to be number 1 or number 2 in the NBA. Now, if I'm an NBA team, I would want I would want extensive medicals. I would want my doctors to examine him up and down to figure out what's going on with him, and if there are things that could linger into the NBA. The other thing that is a little bothersome if you're Kansas and Bill Self is Peterson's really good and he's smooth and he makes it look so easy. But sometimes he kind of fades away and you don't see him, but then he steps up in big moments where a guy like DeBonsa down at BYU seems to be there for 35, 40 minutes every night.
Bill Riley, my guest here for a couple more minutes on the Sean O'Connell Show. How cool was it to see Connor O'Toole, of all former Utes, get himself a ring?
Speaking of guys that were injured all the time or not always available, Connor O'Toole, we always talk about, Sean, those guys, those what could have been guys. And Connor had a solid, wasn't like his career ended or anything like that. But there was always a nagging injury with him, and he missed a lot of time. But when he played, he would always flash and show you, and then he'd miss a couple of more games. I'm so happy for him because he was I think he was a street free agent, or maybe he was drafted really late by Seattle. But there he is playing special teams and contributing in the Super Bowl. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it's I echo what you said. You know, there's plenty of guys any year you can look at a guy like, oh, he should have done more, he could have done more, and for him it was always stuff kind of outside of his control, keeping him off the field at the University of Utah, and that much more impressive to make an NFL roster when you don't have the body of game tape, all that work and stuff. And so, yeah, pretty cool to see him. Look, I don't want to ever see the Seahawks win a Super Bowl, especially at my Niners home field. But to see someone like Connor O'Toole, who didn't get the gratifying college experience that he probably expected, now have a ring, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and you wonder if a guy like that makes his way onto the team via special teams. And, you know, as deep as the Seahawks are, maybe they're not able to keep everybody. Maybe he could kind of crack the two deep and be a rotational guy on the defensive side of the football, too, for them.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out the rest of his career, but he's got a ring now, so he doesn't have to worry about that. The list of Utes invited to the NFL scouting combine came out, and it's no big surprises. I mean, I didn't know that Logan Fano was going to get that invite, but obviously there's at least one team that wants to see what he's capable of. So you've got your two tackles, you've got Dallin Bentley, Lander Barton, Logan Fano, all heading to Indianapolis for the scouting combine. Who do you think flashes the most in the underwear Olympics?
That's a good question. I mean, the tackles are going to be great. I mean, I think both Spencer and Caleb are going to be really, really good. I really think Dallin Bentley could be a guy that really, really flashes and kind of catches some people's eyes. He had a great year this year, and he showed some athleticism after he caught the football. I think Bentley could be a guy that might really catch some eyes and move up the draft boards. I think they'll all do well in the interview portions, but in the underwear Olympics, as you like to call it, I think a guy like Dallin Bentley might do really well. What about you?
Yeah, I think he's going to have actually an awesome NFL career for the same reasons that you just stated. I think that the NFL is going to look kindly on the fact that he came to the University of Utah. He was not the feature tight end in the offense, but he still decided to stay, to develop, to build his body, etc. I think that, that's going to bode well for him because he put in the work at Utah. He ended up finishing out with a really great year. And he's got the traits. He's a good blocker. He's a big physical body. And yeah, like you said, some athleticism after the catch. So I think Dallin Bentley could be really interesting. I also mentioned yesterday, if you're Lander Barton and you're going out there to this thing, are you bothering to run maybe a couple tight end drills because he just doesn't have the lateral quickness that NFL teams might be demanding to play an every down linebacker, but we only saw very brief flashes of it. He's a prototypical tight end body.
I think that, teams, because he's got a little bit of tape, not a ton, but he's got a little bit of tape as tight end, I think teams might look at him that way. What he does have, though, Sean, is that super high football IQ at linebacker. And he's a very physical player, too. So I think, it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe somebody looks at him, brings him to camp, drafts him, and looks at him both places. But I still think he's got enough on the linebacker side of things with the high football IQ and with the guy, with that physicality and that toughness to where he gets a look at linebacker as well.
Our conversation with Bill Riley is brought to you by Handy and Handy, HandyLawUtah.com. Preston and Garrett Handy have been partners with this show when Bill was hosting it, and obviously now when I'm hosting it, they're a big part of it, bringing Bill on every week. And it's always better to not have to use them, but it's great to have them in your back pocket, Bill.
Well, if you do have to use a personal injury attorney, Sean, you want somebody that is fighting for you. They've got a great track record, and they've been doing it for a long, long time, and that's exactly what Handy and Handy have. Preston and Garrett have been doing this for a long, long time. They're both great people. They run their own firm. They're not some gigantic firm. They're their own guys, and they've done great work for such a long time. But like you said, I hope none of our listeners ever have to call a personal injury attorney, but we do know that that's not the reality of life, and stuff happens. So when stuff happens, you want somebody that is going to fight for you, and they've done it, and they're on your side. So HandyLawUtah.com is their website, and I I can't endorse these guys high enough because I know their character and I know what they've done over the years for people that have called up, people like our listeners.
801-683-5481, handylawutah.com. Request a free consultation. They have a little chat feature right there, front page on the website, where you can ask your legal questions. So give them a ring. Tell them OC or Bill Riley sent you. handylawutah.com. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Sean. Talk to you soon.
The voice of the Utes, Bill Riley. All right. Little crosstalk coming with Spence Checketts. A PGA Tour leaderboard update from the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, brought to you by You Into Golf. And some stained tickets to give away with a trivia question. I'm just going to steal a trivia question from Gordy Chiesa. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All right, stain tickets to give away here. Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on October 7th. If you can tell me, courtesy of Gordy Chiesa, the first time the Utah Jazz hosted the All-Star game back in the early 90s, who sang the national anthem? 877-353-0700. If you were listening to the show earlier today, Gordy already gave us the answer to this. Who sang the national anthem at the Utah Jazz All-Star game where John and Carl were the co-MVPs of the All-Star game? We were all downtown for a little round ball ruckus. It was a glorious time in our childhood. Or maybe you weren't born yet like James. Or just barely born like James.
Technically my childhood, but yeah, barely.
Real quick, James, the PGA Tour leaderboard update brought to you by You Win to Golf by Worldwide Golf. The Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Anything crazy going on?
Well, your leader is Ryo Hisatsune. He's at 7 under, one shot up on Jake Knapp. Host of guys rounding out the top 10, tied for third. That's how close this is so far on day one. Minwoo Lee is one of those. Tommy Fleetwood, Jordan Spieth, couple of big names in there among the guys tied for third to round out the top 10. Tony Finau is 3 under and tied for 21st right now. So decent start for Tony on this day one of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. And that's your PGA Tour leaderboard update brought to you by Uinta Golf.
Crosstalk coming now. Our friends over at Advanced Window Products hook you up with Crosstalk. Spence Checketts in the drive coming next. 801-850-9100. $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. Lifetime warranty. The sales, the installation, and the warranty are all covered by the same group, the same company right here in Salt Lake City. So no middleman, no crazy runaround. If you have an unlikely issue, they're going to take care of you for the life of your home. The drive is next. Like I said, Spence Checketts is here in our studio right now. Hi, Spence.
How are you, Sean?
I'm doing okay. We had Bobby Marks on.
Yeah, you did. I heard it.
And it was fun. I appreciate him trying to explain his position. I don't think that he convinced me that it's any different to tank the way that the Jazz were tanking. And now, of course, they'll do it the good old-fashioned way with Jaren Jackson Jr. sidelined with the season-ending surgery.
Well, I mean, we called it, right? We talked about this.
Yeah, I actually am a little bit bothered that you got it wrong, though, because you said he's going to have a bad back. Yeah. And it was a bad knee, Spence. You should have known it would have been a bad knee.
You're not wrong there. But the panic that set in for a lot of people after the Jazz made this trade, where it's like, no, they're too good now to keep this draft asset. It was pretty easy to kind of see the writing on the wall as far as what they were going to do. Back, knee, what have you. You know, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what this knee situation is, so I don't really want to make light of a growth that has to be removed. But at the same time, we all know what the deal is. I just found it odd that, of all people, a guy like Bobby Marks, who has been in front offices, and by the way, has been part of front offices of pretty bad teams that were trying to get in a draft position once upon a time with the New Jersey Nets, to use the term like lack of integrity, I was just surprised to hear that from him. I mean, that's something you hear from like McAfee or like Stephen A. or whatever. It's not something you hear from Bobby Marks, a guy who's run basketball, has been in basketball front offices. So, and you know the other interesting thing, when Zanuck was a little bit, how do I say this delicately, to use a Sean O'Connell term, more in the loop, I guess is how I'll put that. Most of the Jazz news was released by Woj and ESPN.
Yeah.
Now, like, Haynes is getting it. Like, there's something going on between the Jazz front office and ESPN right now. There is. And maybe it's the Mark stuff. But if you paid attention, the majority of the Jazz stuff, they're like one of 2 teams in the league that's not in bed with ESPN and Shams now. Haynes is getting it. Yahoo's getting it. Like, other outlets are getting Jazz news. And I'm telling you, knowing how this stuff works behind the scenes and knowing who's friends with who, it's pretty fascinating to kind of maybe surmise that there's something going on with the Jazz front office and ESPN right now.
Well, I could understand if there's a little bit of upset in the fact that
for sure.
ESPN decided that the one team they wanted to punch down at was the Utah Jazz.
Right.
I don't like that. So if they reacted negatively to it in the front office, I'm hearing you. I'm feeling you.
Have you ever had anybody try to steal your identity?
No.
I think that might be happening to me in real time.
Yeah, Spence came in and got one of those alerts on his phone that someone's trying to log into your like credit card account.
They're trying to log into my Amex and I'm from the Northeast, but not Boston. I'll worry about this later. It's a little bit unnerving. Now you have to wonder whether or not, and again, this is a weird thing to talk about because he apparently has a growth on his knee that needs to be taken off. So I don't want to make fun of a dude that might have some underlying condition. I'm just trying to make sense of it in the macro viewpoint based off of what could be next. Is Lowry suddenly going to have gastric distress that, mandates a little stomach surgery? I don't know. I mean, they tried to lose again last night, and Sacramento's like, all right, watch this. We'll sit 6 of our best 7 players. We'll see your tank, and we'll raise you. And down the stretch, I was going over the schedule. They've got between 10 to 15 games left against teams that are also unserious about competing. And they're dangerously close still, even with what they're trying to do. And it really is the only compelling storyline around him now, because now that Jaren Jackson Jr. is shut down, we can't really learn much about him. So it's really the only thing left to talk about with the Jazz that's somewhat compelling.
It's just really unfortunate that Keontae's ankle is going to keep him out for so long.
I feel horrible for the kid.
We thought it was a minor injury.
Yeah.
It's actually really pretty serious.
Yeah. Just get ready to see heavy Svi Mikhailuk isolation sets moving forward.
I made this point earlier. As long as Dr. Elatraj is not doing the knee surgery on Jaren Jackson Jr., we're good.
He's the one that did the Cam stuff, right?
Exactly.
And I swear he works with a lot of the big-time football and basketball players.
He did Aaron Rodgers' Achilles and whatnot, yeah.
Was Aaron right out of the darkness retreat on ayahuasca when he had his knee surgery? Is he going to come back and play?
I think he is.
Is he doing the darkness thing? He's not, because he would tell us about it, for sure.
No, now he's got a top-secret wife instead.
Oh, really?
You didn't hear about this?
No.
Aaron Rodgers got married
and
talked about his wife at the end of the season. She is apparently the only human woman in the United States of America who has zero online presence.
Well, good for her.
No pictures, nothing available. Yeah. She is a wisp in the wind.
Huh.
Interesting choice for Aaron Rodgers.
Because
of some of his allegations.
Well, it also kind of sounds like it might be made up. Knowing Aaron.
It's like Napoleon Dynamite's girlfriend.
Exactly.
He's got one Glamour Shots picture of her.
Right.
She lives in California.
Too bad you can't meet her. That Can't Hardly Wait, where he's like the model that lives in Canada, the goobs that go to the party. You could get drunk. You could get addicted. Have you seen Can't Hardly Wait?
I don't know if I have.
It's hilarious. That's the nerds. They go to the party.
Wait a second. Are you and James both pulling out obscure movie references?
Can't Hardly Wait is not obscure.
I think it's pretty obscure.
Is it really?
Who's even in it?
Jennifer Love Hewitt, the one that got away. And that was peak Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Okay.
And then the dude who played like the meathead jock, your character.
Yeah. Oh, that's me?
Yeah. Oh,
just because I'm an adult?
There's this one great scene where he's getting made fun of and he's looking around the party. He goes, "I'll kick everyone's ass in this room." It's like perfect Sean O'Connell.
So
exactly.
It is me then.
Can't Hardly Wait is a legitimately funny movie with a great soundtrack. You should sit down with your bride and watch it tonight.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
Probably not, because I am all in on Olympic prime time. Right now, we got a problem, ladies and gentlemen. U.S. men's hockey, after one, tied up 1-1 with Latvia. They've had 2 goals called off, taken away. But what is happening here?
They'll be fine.
Latvia 1-1?
Yeah, it's the first period,
This is what happens when you don't play Clayton Keller.
It's the first period. They're going to be fine. I bet they win 5-2. I'll put money on it, 5-2.
All right.
I'll put a baklava shake on it.
Okay.
If they win 5-2, you have to buy me a baklava shake tomorrow.
Again?
Yes, that's the bet.
All right.
Now you give me a score, because we can't just say 5-2 and anything else is on me. You give me a score.
All right, 4-1.
Okay, baklava shake on me tomorrow.
Okay, what if it's not either of those scores?
Then James has to buy both of us baklava shakes.
Then James has to get both of us shakes? Perfect.
Any other outcome. Well, bottom line, we're getting baklava, so that's good.
Boys to Men, by the way. That's who sang the anthem at the All-Star game.
I love, you know what? We're playing Boys to Men all show long.
Such a great vocal group.
Oh, amazing. One of the most underrated boy bands of all time. And your boy over here enjoys some boy bands from time to time. You should know that.
All right. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll do it again tomorrow. Stay tuned for The Drive on ESPN 700.